Smoke and flames rose on all sides, and the war never ceased. Even the sky itself was swallowed by dust and smoke. I, Jiangyu, was the empress who founded the Tulan kingdom, the first empress in history, proud and undefeated on the battlefield. If I still had an opponent back then, it could only have been Great Wei's elusive Grand General. But beautiful things never last. I gave everything to the court, only to be murdered by traitors in the end. At that thought, she clenched her clothes tightly. Then, in a daze, she thought to herself, hadn't I already died? Why am I still in the water? Could it be that I've been reborn? Is this heaven's mercy? Just then, a man suddenly appeared from nowhere and approached her. Looking at the burly man before her, Jiangyu couldn't help but feel confused. Who is this? Why does he have that scar? Is that the mark I left on that person's body? At that moment, her body was pulled back, and Jiangyu gradually lost strength and slowly closed her eyes. Yet her thoughts still echoed on. This strong arm feels familiar. Where exactly am I? Who is he? Outside, the sunlight blazed brightly. Inside the Empress's bedchamber, Jiangyu lay unconscious. The next second, she suddenly opened her eyes and woke up. As she sat up and looked around, she muttered in confusion, "Who am I? Where am I?" Seeing that she had awakened, the Empress's personal maid, Lan Shui, immediately stepped forward and asked after her. "Your Majesty, you're awake." The moment she heard that, Jiangyu's face turned pale. She spoke at once. "Wait, who are you? Answer me first. What dynasty is this now?" Lan Shui replied in confusion, "Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell somewhere? This is now the realm of Great Wei. You are the Empress of Great Wei. This servant is Lan Shui. Have you forgotten?" Jiangyu asked doubtfully. "Then what about the Tulan kingdom?" Lan Shui answered quickly. 8 years ago, the Tulan kingdom already submitted to Great Wei and became one of our vassal states. Hearing that, Jiangyu shouted furiously, "Insolence!" But after saying it, she thought to herself, how is that possible? The instant she raised her voice, Lan Shui dropped to her knees in terror. "This servant is afraid. Every word I said is true. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." After speaking, she thought uneasily, Her Majesty seems like a completely different person. That look in her eyes is like she wants to devour someone whole. Meanwhile, Jiangyu remained lost in her own thoughts. Ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Those people schemed in every possible way to kill me, only to end up making wedding clothes for someone else. I wonder if they regret it now. But the most ridiculous thing of all is that after being reborn, I become the empress of my enemy. This body was only just pulled from the water. No, this won't do. I can't hold on any longer. No sooner had she finished thinking that than she lay back down and fell asleep. After a while, the physician arrived and took her pulse. After examining Jiangyu, the physician said, Her Majesty's body is far too weak. After falling into the water, she also caught a chill. Once she sleeps and sweats it out, she'll be fine. Hearing this, Lan Shui immediately asked, Then when will Her Majesty wake up? The physician calmly turned to leave as he answered, She'll wake when she wakes. There's no need to worry. In that situation, Lan Shui could only mutter helplessly to herself, at least leave some medicine behind. Her Majesty has always been strange, fierce, overbearing, and made enemies everywhere. Everyone is fed up with her, and now she's ended up like this. Then she sighed and said gloomily, What a sin. Just then, thunder suddenly boomed outside. A figure appeared outside the door, staring intently inside as that person slowly approached Jiangyu's bedside. She woke with a start only after being tied up tightly, then cried out in alarm, What are you trying to do? Why do you want to kill me? The moment Jiangyu said that, a child spoke up. Why? Does a Mother Empress know? Meanwhile, Jiangyu struggled against the ropes, thinking, I still carry the vengeance of my nation. I can't die like this. I can't be controlled by a few children. Impossible. At the same time, Xie Yuani coldly said, Look at my legs. See how I've lived all these years in the rear palace. Isn't that reason enough to kill someone? The other children also chimed in. We've become like this all because of you, our dear Mother Empress. As soon as they finished speaking, they gripped the blades in their hands, ready to act. With a sharp, icy gaze, Jiangyu thought in panic, no, Jiangyu, still have to overthrow Great Wei and take back my realm. So everything just now had only been a nightmare. Lying in bed, drenched in cold sweat, Jiangyu murmured, Great Wei, Xie, seated beside the bed, quickly reached out and touched her face. The next second, he said, "Even in your dreams, you're still not honest." After saying that, Xie ran his hand through Jiang Yu's hair. Then he suddenly clenched his palm and thought to himself, "I shouldn't have come here in the first place. But after waking up, I kept wanting to come here to find her, to hold her. Her figure keeps appearing as if by instinct. And that hateful beauty mark as well. I can't keep this up. Let's just pretend I was never here." With that, he stood up and left. Outside, the stars had already come out and the rain had stopped. Jiang Yu was still lying in bed, fast asleep. The bed curtains slowly fell shut. In the next instant, a small dagger suddenly appeared on the floor, along with footprints beneath the doorway. It seemed that none of it had been a dream. At Zhaohua Palace, the moment Jiang Yu woke up, she fell deep into thought. After one night's sleep, the memories of this body finally came flooding in. The original Empress, the former owner of this body, had wanted to attract the Emperor's attention. But unexpectedly, something went wrong with her plan, and she dragged His Majesty into the water with her. She was arrogant and domineering, yet received neither the Emperor's favor nor his protection, causing everyone around her to distance themselves from her. Was there anyone more pitiful than this Empress? If this body had not belonged to the third young lady of the Duke of Angwo's residence, she would probably have been deposed long ago. Even after getting dressed neatly, she still looked deep in thought, making Lan Shui, who stood beside her, feel extremely puzzled. Why has Her Majesty been acting so strangely lately? As soon as that thought ended, the atmosphere between the two suddenly turned very quiet. Meanwhile, Jiang Yu kept a cold expression as she pondered. What terrible luck. Being reborn as my enemy's Empress would have been bad enough, but this body is also so weak, half dead as it is. Life from now on probably won't be easy. At that moment, the image of herself tied up on the floor by those children suddenly flashed through her mind. The more Jiang Yu thought about it, the paler she became, feeling utterly helpless. She had forgotten that now she was not only a sickly Empress, but also the stepmother of 4 children. Just then, Jiang Yu noticed something. She quickly turned to look. It was a small dagger lying right by the door. As she walked over and looked at it, Jiang Yu thought in surprise, "There's actually a dagger in the Empress's bedchamber? Could last night's dream?" Then she spoke up, "Lan Shui, after I fell asleep last night, did anyone come by?" As she spoke, Jiang Yu thought to herself, "I can't let myself be caught off guard right from the start. Did the 4th princess come by?" The 4th princess, Xie Yuani, is only 4 years old this year. Her legs are crippled, so she has to use a wheelchair. I can't deny that I was involved in that matter. When Xie Yuani was 3, she was playful and accidentally dropped and shattered a precious glass vase while picking wild fruit. At the time, the little girl was terrified, and her nanny was furious because of it, even shoving her to the ground. Xie Yuani was pushed straight into a table with a bang, and her whole body was cut by the shards, leaving her bleeding. From then on, the original host no longer cared about the 4th princess. The servants saw that Xie Yuani had fallen out of favor and also became cold and neglectful toward her. So Xie Yuani does not hate me for no reason. These troublesome matters must be resolved. Otherwise, if I end up dying at the hands of 4-year-old, the name of Jiang Yu will truly be disgraced. No sooner had she finished thinking that than Jiang Yu noticed something. At that moment, Lan Shui suddenly announced, "Your Majesty the Empress, the 4th princess has arrived." The moment Jiang Yu saw Xie Yuani before her, she couldn't help feeling curious. So this is the 4th princess? As soon as that thought ended, she said coldly, "Speak. Why did you try to assassinate me?" Xie Yuani showed no fear and replied boldly, "Since you've already found out, then I don't need to keep up this hypocritical act of yours anymore." Seeing the little girl's attitude, Jiang Yu judged inwardly. She may be young, but her temper certainly isn't. She's clearly already 4 years old, yet she's so thin. It seems she's suffered quite a bit living in this palace of mine. Forget it. Why bother arguing with children? After thinking that, Jiang Yu said, "Forget it. Escort the 4th princess back." After taking Xie Yuani away, Lan Shui could not help but ask in confusion, "Your Majesty, why did you let that little wretch off so easily?" She clearly wanted to kill someone. Hearing that, Jiang Yu immediately warned her, "Lan Shui, watch your mouth. Mind your status." Lan Shui hurriedly lowered her head and apologized. This servant deserves death. Please forgive me, your majesty. I was rude. Please punish and instruct me. The fourth princess's birth mother was originally a maid of Zhaohua Palace. She climbed into the emperor's bed and conceived imperial offspring. The child's very birth was a direct slap in the empress's face. How could the empress possibly like her? If that dream really comes true, then I need to think of a way to deal with it. After all, I have countless ways to deal with people. Besides, if someone truly wanted to assassinate me, who would use a dull knife? Thinking of that, she drowsily muttered to herself, the most urgent matter is to find a way to improve this weak body. At Xie Yuani's place, the little girl could not help but ask worriedly, could it be that that woman noticed something? The next day, voices sounded from outside. Your Majesty the Empress, do you really want to put here? Jiang Yu replied calmly, yes. Just do it. As soon as she finished speaking, she thought cheerfully, back then, I could easily control a firearm weighing half a ton. So these basic training exercises are child's play. The moment that thought ended, Jiang Yu suddenly smiled brightly and shouted, die. You dog emperor. This frightened Lan Shui so much that she shrieked, Your Majesty, what are you saying? Half a month later, Jiang Yu was strolling slowly along the corridor in the palace hall. As she looked at her, Lan Shui, standing behind, thought in confusion. During this time, Her Majesty has become like a completely different person. Before, if she wasn't racking her brains to attract the emperor's attention, then she was in the bedchamber beating and cursing the servants. But now she's proud and aloof, unconcerned with anything. Could this be some new tactic? Meanwhile, Jiang Yu is also lost in thought. I still remember how I was undefeated on the battlefield back then, never once losing to any enemy general. And now I can't even knock down a straw dummy, let alone real soldiers or real weapons. This body can only manage a few walks around the courtyard. I've worked hard to train it during this time. Even if the results aren't great, something is better than nothing. Just then, her train of thought was interrupted by the sound of crying from somewhere nearby. The crying came from Chengxian Palace. Inside Chengxian Palace, someone's voice rang out. Xie Ziyuan, idiot, big idiot. How can you be this stupid? And you still dare laugh at me? The moment she stepped in, Jiang Yu called out, Crown Prince. Upon seeing her, Crown Prince Xie Ziyuan stammered in panic. Mother Empress, why have you come here? Meanwhile, the fourth prince, Xie Lin, respectfully bowed to Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu asked sternly, Xie Ziyuan, why are you crying? The instant he heard her question, Xie Ziyuan shrank back in fear and hid behind Xie Lin, leaving Jiang Yu extremely puzzled. So, this is the crown prince born of the Empress herself? He seemed to appear in that dream where they assassinated me too. But looking at him now, he seems rather timid. Still, he's actually quite adorable. Jiang Yu quickly stepped forward and asked gently, were you bullied? But Xie Ziyuan only became even more frightened and curled in on himself. This left Jiang Yu deeply confused. Am I really that scary? It really does look like someone bullied him. Just then, Xie Ziyuan suddenly raised his head, with tears brimming in his eyes. The little boy put on an unwilling expression. Seeing that, Jiang Yu sighed to herself, fine, I won't argue with a child. Then she said aloud, Xie Lin, you tell me. Xie Lin immediately replied, that idiot Xie Ziyuan got scolded by the grand tutor until he cried again. He really is stupid. Hearing that, Xie Ziyuan wailed, the grand tutor hit me again. It hurts so much. Today I need to eat 5 buns before it'll stop hurting. The more Jiang Yu listened, the more confused she became. This child was crying so loudly just because of 5 little buns. While she was checking Xie Ziyuan's hand, Xie Lin, standing at the side, couldn't help but chime in. Isn't it because you're stupid? You started crying after just a few words, and you made the grand tutor so angry that he left. As soon as he finished speaking, both children jumped at Jiang Yu's loud voice. No crying. All you do all day is cry and fuss. What kind of man behaves like that? Lan Shui, go prepare a few dishes that the crown prince likes and bring them here. Today, I will personally teach the crown prince. Lan Shui immediately lowered her head and answered, yes, your majesty. Hearing Jiang Yu's words, Xie Lin brightened and said with a grin, Xie Ziyuan must be thrilled. There'll be good food to eat. But Xie Ziyuan looked stunned and said anxiously, Mother Empress this. He thought helplessly to himself, no way. If Mother Empress is going to teach me, how could I possibly enjoy eating anything? At that moment, Jiang Yu was staring right at Xie Ziyuan, frightening the little boy so much that he quickly lowered his head and answered, your son obeys. Memorials were opened and examined carefully. After a while, Xie asked, "She really has changed a lot in the past half-month." His subordinate immediately replied, "In this servant's opinion, after the Empress fell into the water, she suffered a shock, which is why her temperament has changed so much." After speaking, he thought to himself, "I'm nothing but a lowly shadow guard. How am I supposed to answer this kind of question?" Meanwhile, Xie continued, "Anything else?" The subordinate answered softly, "No, Your Majesty. From what I have observed, everything in Zhewa Palace is normal. Her Majesty the Empress has not gone to Hangzhou Pavilion to make trouble for Deputy Jiu Fu, nor has she gone to Fei Qi Pavilion to stir up trouble for noble Lady Shen." Xie quickly set his brush down on the table. After hearing those words, he could not help falling into thought. Why do I keep thinking about her? No, this can't continue. Meanwhile, the subordinate was inwardly on the verge of tears, thinking, "I have no idea what medicine you're selling your gourd either. I'm only carrying out orders. I really want to get off duty soon." Just then, a voice suddenly sounded from outside. "Your Majesty, Deputy Jiu Fu requests an audience outside." Xie ordered, "Let her in." After saying that, he reminded his subordinate to keep monitoring all activity at Zhewa Palace and report even the smallest matter. The subordinate obeyed at once. Yes. The very next moment, a soft, delicate voice rang out. "Your Majesty." Fu Shiru walked in, her face bright with a cheerful smile. The next second, she tried to lean into Xie's arms, but he avoided her. At this, Fu Shiru could not help feeling deeply bewildered. His Majesty used to be so intimate with me. Why is he so cold now? Thinking that, she quickly sat down and said softly, "Your Majesty, are you troubled by affairs of state?" Xie replied at once, "I am indeed worried over government matters. Has my beloved consort come to see me for something?" As soon as he finished speaking, Fu Sueru thought to herself, "So if I have no business, I should leave immediately?" Then she said aloud, "Yes, Your Majesty. I heard that Her Majesty the Empress has changed her temperament and spends all day shut up in her palace. I am very worried for Her Majesty. Why doesn't Your Majesty go and visit the Empress?" In the next instant, Fu Shiru could not help calculating inwardly. It must be because of the Empress that His Majesty has become so cold to me. I recently heard some news. I have to let His Majesty see how that vicious Empress treats the Crown Prince. As soon as he heard her suggestion, Xie said, "Visit the Empress? That is not impossible." The moment she heard that, Fu Shiru was stunned in surprise. His Majesty really seems different from before. Fu Sueru and Xie walked along the path together. As they walked, Fu Shiru reached out towards Xie, but he immediately withdrew his hand, making her think, maybe that was just a coincidence. However, when Fu Shiru reached out once more, Xie again pulled away, and she immediately understood. He did it on purpose. Her face full of shock and confusion, Fu Shiru could not help thinking, could that rumor be true? Has His Majesty really lost all interest in women? Just now he did not want to sit with me, and now he will not even hold my hand. Your Majesty, you have changed. At that moment, Xie was indeed being very cold toward Fu Shiru. Suddenly, the sound of crying rang out from somewhere, filling Xie with doubt. Is that the Crown Prince's voice? The moment they arrived at Zhewa Palace, Xie turned and asked his subordinate, "What is going on here?" Everyone naturally began noisily discussing the scene before them. Fu Shiru seized the chance to add fuel to the fire. That is clearly His Highness, the Crown Prince's voice. Even if Her Majesty the Empress is usually strict, she cannot possibly lay hands on the Crown Prince, let alone when he is still just a child. After saying that, she thought viciously. She said she was staying behind closed doors to recuperate, but she was clearly only hiding this. If His Majesty sees it with his own eyes, he will only despise her more. The position of Empress will be mine soon enough. Hearing her words, Xie naturally felt extremely irritated and shouted at once, "Impudent!" Seeing him leave, Fu Shiru quickly hurried after him. "Your Majesty, wait for me." Inside Zhewa Palace, Kuan Yu said coldly, "I already told you, if you can't recite what the Grand Tutor taught today, then you don't get to eat the steam buns, and you'll be punished further. Hurry up and recite. If not, I'll eat all these buns myself." She calmly ate a bun while staring fixedly at Xieton in front of her and thinking, however these children used to be is not my concern, but now they're my children, so I cannot ignore them. The Crown Prince and the Princess must both carry the bearing of me, the Empress. Meanwhile, punished by Kuang Yu, Xiaoton's stomach was growling as he cried and complained. Mother Empress. The little boy could not help thinking helplessly, why has Mother Empress suddenly changed? She clearly never cared about my studies before. This is so scary. At that thought, Xiaoton looked hopefully towards Xia Lam. Help me. Mother Empress said I have to stand in punishment for a full shurchin, and only half a shurchin has passed so far. However, Xia Lam merely happily showed offerbun to him. Then she said calmly, Mother Empress, isn't one shurchin too light a punishment? Today, Xiaoton actually angered the Grand Tutor so much that he went home. As soon as she heard that, Kuang Yu asked, Xia Lam, are you very happy? Or do you enjoy seeing Xiaoton make trouble and get punished? Is there some grudge between you two? The moment she heard that, Xia Lam hurriedly explained, your daughter would not dare. Kuang Yu thought sternly, as members of the imperial family, who among them is without schemes? Even a child like this already understands the principles of fighting for power and advantage. Thinking of this, she coldly asked, jealousy or admiration? Xia Lam immediately lowered her head and replied, Mother is joking. How would Xia Lam dare harbor such thoughts? Please do not trouble yourself over it. As Kuang Yu carefully observed Xia Lam's expression, she silently assessed her. Her face was composed, without the slightest sign of panic. Her answers were smooth and fluent, but those trembling little hands betrayed the turmoil in the child's heart. In the end, she was still only a child. Then Kuang Yu said coldly, I do not care how you usually treat one another, but in front of outsiders, no matter what happens, you must protect each other. Do you understand what I am saying? Xia Lam immediately complied. Your daughter will obey Mother's teachings. Xiaoton, still swaying with a bowl of water balanced on his head, hurriedly chimed in. Your son will obey Mother's teachings. At that very moment, the bowl of water suddenly fell and shattered with a crash. Xiaoton dropped to the floor and began crying nonstop. Faced with that, Kuang Yu was naturally startled. How did this? Just then, a loud voice rang out. Empress, your nerve has grown quite large. Hearing that, Kuang Yu immediately turned around. The moment Xia Yi appeared, he said coldly, you won't even spare a child. It seems this title of Empress is one you no longer wish to keep. Upon hearing that, Kuang Yu calmly retorted, does Her Majesty wish to depose me? She looked at Xia Yi with an extremely serious expression. This left Fu Shiwaru standing to one side, full of curiosity and confusion. Could her temperament really have changed after falling into the water? At this moment, Xia Yi suddenly said, the Empress's personality truly is different from before. Looking as though His Majesty could not possibly let her off, Fu Shiwaru quickly interjected, the Crown Prince is still young. Has Your Majesty, the Empress, ever thought about that? Punishing him without explanation like this, isn't that too harsh? As she said this, she placed a hand on Xiaoton's shoulder and smiled gently. Crown Prince, don't be afraid. Your imperial father will uphold justice for you. With tears welling in his eyes, Xiaoton replied at once, your son truly did not mean to anger the Grand Tutor into leaving, Imperial Father. Mother Empress already deducted one of my steamed buns. Your son knows he was wrong. Hearing that, Fu Shiwaru froze in bafflement. Deducted one steamed bun? Even the attendants were stunned and puzzled. Just because one steamed bun was deducted, Xiaoton hurriedly explained, Imperial Father, don't blame Mother Empress. Hearing the boy say that, Xia Yi sternly asked, from the sound of it, have I wrongly blamed the Empress? Kuang Yu looked seriously at Xia Yi in front of her. Under the circumstances, Lan Tui, standing nearby, could not help feeling anxious. Your Majesty, this is the best chance to reconcile with His Majesty. Don't let it slip by. At that moment, Kuang Yu suddenly smiled, then at once softened again and said, it was because this concubine did not explain clearly that Your Majesty misunderstood. That is indeed the case. At the sight of this, Fu Shiwaru frowned and thought, if this was not an intentional punishment, then I need to find another excuse. Otherwise, this trip will have been for nothing. Thinking that, she immediately said, even if it was only a steamed bun, as the Empress, the mother of the nation, you should not. But before she could finish, Lan Tui suddenly rushed out from nowhere and eagerly interrupted, reporting to Your Majesty. Fu Shiwaru could not help angrily thinking, where did this maid come from? Meanwhile, Lan Tui continued, continued. Today at the Imperial Academy, not only did the Crown Prince anger the Grand Tutor so much that he left, he also used his status as Crown Prince to skip class. That is why the Empress punished him after learning of it. Standing to one side, Kuang Yu obediently nodded as she listened to Lan Tui's account. After hearing it all, Xie asked with a cold expression, "Xie, is that really so?" Trembling in fear, Xie answered, "Your son knows he was wrong." Seeing that everything had smoothed over, Lan Tui could not help sighing in relief. We made it through. Meanwhile, Fu Sueru looked on in anger and frustration. After a moment, Xie said, "If the Empress was merely disciplining a child, then I will not make things difficult for you. However, I think the Crown Prince has already suffered enough from his fall today. Why not give me face and let him off this time?" Hearing that, Kuang Yu smiled and shook her head in refusal. If the Crown Prince did wrong, then he must be punished. There is still half a shurchin left. One must not spoil a child out of blind affection. Her words left Xie thoroughly surprised. The next second, he sat down calmly and said, "If that is the case, then we shall do as the Empress says." Seeing his action, Kuang Yu thought in surprise, "His Majesty wants to stay?" Meanwhile, Lan Tui also thought in shock, "Her Majesty is incredible. I knew long ago that she would soon regain His Majesty's favor." Fu Shiru, standing to one side, on the other hand, had failed to achieve her goal and was filled with gloom. Just now those two were like fire and water. How are they on the same side already? Xie Lam, pale-faced and unable to speak, also thought to herself, "Imperial Father, that's my seat." The more Kuang Yu looked at the awkward scene before her, the more helplessly she sighed. If he wants to stay, then let him stay. It's not as though I'm going to eat them. The one suffering most here was probably none other than Xie. In despair, he thought, seriously, why is the one who always gets hurt me? At this time, Xie stared intently at his reflection in the water, full of curiosity. Can a person's temperament really change after falling into water? She never once asked after the Crown Prince before, but now, what exactly is she plotting? The moment Kuang Yu saw him looking toward her, she called out, "Your Majesty." Seeing this, Xie immediately turned his head away and said awkwardly, "I heard the Empress has been exercising recently. How has that been going?" Kuang Yu gave a mocking laugh and replied, "Your Majesty never comes to Zhaohua Palace, yet your information is quite accurate." Xie smiled and said, "The Empress jests. Is there anything in a harem that I would not know?" Hearing that, Kuang Yu thought to herself, "This broken-down palace of mine usually doesn't even see a eunuch, yet he knows if so much as a branch or a blade of grass goes missing. He has clearly planted shadow guards to watch me." At that moment, Fu Shiweru suddenly cut into their conversation. "Oh my, Your Majesty, what are you and Her Majesty talking about? This concubine cannot understand a thing." Kuang Yu paid no attention to her words and only thought staying with the Crown Prince was just an excuse. He really wants to test me. So she said at once, "This palace does not understand swords and blades, but I have achieved a little in some trifling cat-scratch kung fu. Since Your Majesty has happened to stop by, why not give this palace a few pointers so I may learn?" As she said this, Kuang Yu calculated inwardly, "If that's the case, then I'll turn guest into host. Let me see how deep the human heart truly runs." As soon as the subordinate standing at one side heard Kuang Yu's words, he hurried forward and advised, "Your Majesty's dragon body must not be risked lightly." Fu Shiru also agreed. "Exactly, Your Majesty. You must take care of your imperial health." She thought sourly, "Wadul, you're clearly trying to use this chance to get close to His Majesty. I can't let you have your way." Then she quickly spoke up, "Elder sister, as the Empress, do you not even understand such basic propriety?" Kuang Yu's face remained calm, but every word she spoke was deliberately provocative. "Your Majesty's body is precious. If anything were to happen to you, even 10 lives of this concubine would not be enough to repay it. This concubine was at fault. I ask Your Majesty's forgiveness." At this, Xie was directly provoked into replying, "The Empress means well. It is only a few moves. There is nothing difficult about it." As soon as she heard that, Kuang Yu smiled and thought, "Then don't blame me for showing no courtesy." Meanwhile, Xie was making his own calculations. A fox will always show its tail sooner or later. Outside the hall's fighting platform, Lan Tam anxiously reminded, "My lady, this Empress became different after falling into the water. We had better be careful." Fu Shiweru, her face dark with anger, replied, "If I'd known this would happen, I would have finished her off properly." Hearing that, Lan Tam was so alarmed that she immediately said, "Mistress, such words must not be spoken carelessly." After saying that, Lan Tom glanced around. The others were standing far away, chatting merrily, while around them there was no one at all, leaving Lan Tom sighing with deep gloom. At this time, Sieton, still trembling, shuffled along while muttering word by word, "From now on, I won't skip class anymore." The attendants kept whispering among themselves. Her Majesty is in trouble this time. With only that little cat-scratch martial skill, she still dared challenge His Majesty. I just hope she'll be all right. If Her Majesty gets hurt with that stubborn temper of hers, everyone in Zhaohua Palace will probably be dragged down with her. What can we do? We were assigned here to serve, so we can only accept our fate. Xie Yi and Kuang Yu stepped onto the platform. She said loudly, "Come on." Hearing that, Xie Yi said at once, "Ladies first, Empress." Kuang Yu immediately smiled in delight and replied, "Then this concubine won't stand on ceremony." The moment she finished speaking, she leaped up, her body swiftly rising into the air. As soon as Kuang Yu attacked, Xie Yi caught her wrist with a snap. The next second, he swiftly flung her hand aside. As she retreated and landed, Kuang Yu thought in alarm, "I have to measure this frail body's limits. Yet I also must not reveal my real techniques. This man is truly difficult to deal with." Meanwhile, Xie Yi was also assessing her in silence. I didn't expect her to have some skill after all, but this strangely familiar feeling is. At this moment, Kuang Yu focused and calculated. This body has reached its limit, and I've tested him enough. Time for the final move, and then end it. As long as I don't lose too badly, that's enough. In an instant, she rushed forward again. But unfortunately, she tripped on a stone and could only give a helpless, awkward smile. Well, this, in a flash, Kuang Yu lost her balance and fell straight into Xie Yi's arms. The two of them ended up in intimate contact, gazing into each other's eyes. An image of the former Kuang Yu suddenly surfaced in Xie Yi's mind. At the sight of this, he was utterly shocked. Why, for a moment, did she seem so much like? Meanwhile, everyone watching from afar was full of praise. Her Majesty is amazing. His Majesty and the Empress are truly a perfect match. At this time, Xie Yi quickly let go of Kuang Yu and said, "Since the Empress is tired, let's stop here." Kuang Yu obediently answered yes. Yet inwardly her thoughts churned. If it weren't for this body's weakness, who would win and who would lose is still far from certain. Just wait. Next time, I will definitely. At this time, Lantui came running onto the platform with a bright smile to join her. As Xie left, he turned back to look at Kuang Yu, still filled with suspicion. It must have been an illusion. At Zhaohua Palace, everyone said in unison, "We respectfully send off Your Majesty." Only after Xie had left did Kuang Yu finally breathe a sigh of relief. He finally left. Just then, Fu Shiru suddenly walked closer and called out, "Your Majesty." The moment she saw her, Kuang Yu's face showed obvious annoyance. Why hasn't this woman left yet? Still, she forced herself to put on a cheerful smile and replied, "Little sister," Fu Shiru said as she took out a gift, "Your Majesty stays in the harem all day and never goes out for exercise. I'm very worried. If Your Majesty needs anything, just send for me and I'll come at once. I don't have anything especially valuable to offer, but I only hope Your Majesty won't dislike it." As soon as she finished speaking, Fu Shiru secretly calculated, the Empress is jealous by nature. If she finds out this was something His Majesty once bestowed on me, how will she react? Most likely she'll sneer at it. Let's see how long you can keep pretending. Kuang Yu spoke up. "You are thoughtful, little sister. There's no need to be so polite." The moment she said it, she thought to herself, this little girl is full of schemes. She didn't come all this way just to bring a gift for no reason. The gift Fu Shiru presented was a dazzling, luxurious hairpin. The instant she saw it, Kuang Yu quickly recognized it from the original Empress's memories. This was tribute presented a year ago by the kingdom of Tuc Lan, when it was still a vassal state of Great Wei. So it ended up in her hands. At once, she deliberately snatched the gift with force. Since little sister is so thoughtful, I should naturally accept it with equal sincerity. Fu Shiru smiled and replied, "As long as elder sister likes it." However, because Kuang Yu used too much force, Fu Shiru could not help crying out in pain. "That hurts." Kuang Yu swiftly took the gift away. Then she said coldly, "I am tired. You may withdraw." Her attitude made Fu Shiru feel deeply offended. She thought bitterly, I've always been the one bullying others. Who would have thought that today this empress would treat me like this? Just you wait. She quickly bowed and took her leave. This concubine withdraws. The moment she finished speaking, Kuang Yu slammed the door shut. Naturally, this made Fu Shiuru even angrier. Just you wait. Inside the room, Kuang Yu was gently holding Xie Tong in her arms. The little boy softly called out, Mother Empress. When Xie Lam, standing in the distance, saw Kuang Yu carrying Xie Tong and sitting down, she was puzzled. Is she still going to punish him? But contrary to what Xie Lam expected, Xie Tong was staring intently at the steaming buns Kuang Yu had prepared. Meat buns, my favorite. He held one in his hands, his eyes shining brightly. As she rubbed Xie Tong's head, Kuang Yu said with a smile, What is it? Weren't you always making a fuss for buns? Why does a boy like you cry so easily? Deeply moved, Xie Tong replied, Mother Empress has never held me before. Standing in the distance, Xie Lam muttered unwillingly, Me neither. Just then, Xie Tong suddenly asked, Is Mother Empress kind to everyone? What about fourth princess? Hearing that, Kuang Yu fell silent in thought. That child, Lan Tui, standing nearby, immediately cut in. Have you forgotten, Your Majesty? The princess is confined to her quarters. She still has several days before she can come out. In the next instant, Kuang Yu made up her mind. I wonder whether she is sincerely reflecting on her mistakes or not. Why don't we go see her? Those words greatly shocked Lan Tui, who could not help thinking, the princess once tried to assassinate you. Xie Lam was also startled and blurted out, Mother Empress actually wants to visit her, but you clearly never liked her. Faced with everyone's astonishment, Kuang Yu merely said calmly, A mother should take care of her daughter. Prepare the sedan. A voice suddenly sounded. I heard that Her Majesty took the princess to see fourth princess. Your Highness, but the Empress really doesn't need to meet her. Consort Shun Sin Din, quickly replied, Given the Empress's temper, who knows what kind of uproar she's causing this time. Very well, follow me there and have a look. After all, she is still His Majesty's child. We cannot let the Empress be too harsh. At NAMA-MANGAI Palace, which was covered in cobwebs and green moss, Lan Tui jumped in fright the moment she looked around. Xiao Chong, luckily His Highness the Crown Prince didn't come here, or he'd be so scared he'd fall sick. Kuang Yu also grew solemn as she thought. This Lam-Noyet Palace is even more deserted than my own. It's already been quite a while, and not a single palace maid or eunuch has come out to receive us. She had been thinking that since fourth princess was skilled with poison, if she soothed their relationship, the girl might prove useful in the future. But now they could not even find her. Just then, Xie Lam slowly walked over and said, Mother Empress, she's not here. Meanwhile, the servants, upon seeing Kuang Yu, immediately lowered their heads and bowed. Your Majesty the Empress has honored us with your presence. We failed to receive you in time. We beg your Majesty's forgiveness. Kuang Yu's expression instantly darkened as she asked coldly, Where is fourth princess? The maid Chunmei quickly answered this. The princess is following your Majesty's instruction and remains in confinement. Right now, she is playing blind man's buff with us servants. As soon as she said it, she thought to herself, she never cared about the princess before, and now she comes putting on an act. Just then, Kuang Yu suddenly raised her voice in anger. Nonsense. She is clearly not in the palace. Yet you claim she is playing blind man's buff. Are you trying to deceive me? Under her terrifying demeanor, Chunmei lowered her head fearfully and explained, Your Majesty, please forgive me. I did not mean to deceive you. The princess is mischievous by nature and often plays tricks on us servants. The moment Lan Tui heard this, she sternly asked, So you mean fourth princess disregarded Her Majesty's confinement order and ran out on her own? Trembling, Chunmei replied, Today fourth princess kept insisting on going out, but we knew she was still under confinement, so we did not agree. But who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, when no one was paying attention, she ran off? Your Majesty, spare us. We've already gone to look for her. Once we find fourth princess, we will come plead guilty. After hearing everything, Lan Tui turned to ask Kuang Yu, Your Majesty, what do you think? Xie Lam, standing nearby, also quickly chimed in, Your Majesty, how about? At that moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. It's lively here. The person who arrived was none other than the beautiful and sharp-featured Shun Sindin. The moment she saw Kuang Yu, she said in surprise, How unusual. What brings Your Majesty the Empress all the way here today? Could it be that you came to Lam-Noyet Palace to look for lotuses? The servants immediately burst into amused laughter when they heard that. Xie Lam and Lan Tui, standing to one side, could only think helplessly. She's openly provoking her. Meanwhile, Kuang Yu is silently searching her memory. Who is this? In the original host's memories, Consort Shun was honey-tongued and snake-hearted. In the past, by provoking the Empress and relying on the Emperor's favoritism, she had risen in a single leap, becoming the highest-ranking consort after the Empress. The moment she realized this, Kuang Yu smiled to herself. So this woman climbed up by stepping on me. But I'm no longer that useless Empress. Then she said at once, so it is Consort Shin. I hope you've been well. Seeing that Kuang Yu did not look the least bit angry, Shin Sin Din felt somewhat unaccustomed to it. She really isn't like before, when every joy and anger showed on her face. It seems that after falling into the water, she truly changed her temperament. In the next instant, Shin Sin Din suddenly took Kuang Yu's hand. Then, smiling gently, she said, your younger sister greets you. I simply missed elder sister too much. When I heard you had come here, I hurried over. Kuang Yu found this a little strange. Since little sister misses me so much, why not come to my palace and reminisce? She could not help feeling intrigued. Perfect. I just happen to want to probe this smiling snake a little. Shun Sin Din's face froze the moment she heard Kuang Yu's invitation. The two of them clasped each other's hands tightly as they spoke. Your Majesty has only just recovered. I'm afraid it may not be convenient for you to walk about. What is inconvenient about it? I have more than enough energy to host little sister. Am I some kind of flood or beast? Shin Sin Din laughed and said, elder sister jokes. Kuang Yu immediately urged, then come along. Under such deliberate needling, Shin Sin Din had no choice but to agree. Fine, let's go. Looking at her own palm, now red and swollen from Kuang Yu's grip, she could only force a smile and say, it seems elder sister is in excellent spirits. Then younger sister can rest easy. Meanwhile, Chunmei, standing to one side, was filled with confusion. At that moment, Xie Yuani was standing in the distance watching them. The little girl, dressed in torn clothes, sat still in one place, her eyes full of tangled emotions. Back at Kuang Yu's palace, Shin Sin Din sat beside her and said, if elder sister likes tea, I have some top-grade Longjing bestowed by His Majesty. Next time I'll bring some for you. Kuang Yu replied, then I'll trouble little sister. The more Shun Sin Din watched her attitude, the more confused she felt. The Empress never used to be close to those children. So why has Xie Lam been coming here so often recently? Could she be plotting something? At that moment, Kuang Yu suddenly asked, by the way, little sister, do you know whether His Majesty has been injured at any point recently? Shun Sin Din quickly replied, where did your Majesty hear such a thing? It is probably just rumor, not true. The moment she finished speaking, she thought, His Majesty hasn't come to see me for quite a while. Could be that lately. Kuang Yu said thoughtfully, the day I fell into the water, I saw the scar on His Majesty's shoulder with my own eyes. It looked very serious, perhaps an old wound from years ago. Surely sister, Shin does not know absolutely nothing about it. Back then, when I fought that man, I could have taken his life, but he narrowly escaped. The wound in that spot is one of a kind. At this moment, Shun Sin Din suddenly said, your Majesty must be mistaken. His Majesty's body is precious. He has never gone out to wage war in all directions, so there's no way such a scar could exist. But as soon as she said that, she remembered how, when Xie Yi was drunk before, he had once vaguely murmured to her, luckily, thanks to him, I was able to build this empire. I must reward him generously. The more Shun Sin Din thought about it, the more curious she became. But there really had been someone who fought in His Majesty's place. Still, it didn't matter much now. The realm was at peace, and no one knew where that person had gone. He had probably retired into obscurity somewhere and was wandering freely. Meanwhile, Kuang Yu said with a smile, then perhaps I saw wrong. Little sister need not concern herself. As soon as she finished speaking, she thought to herself, this one is even harder to deal with than that consort Fu. There's no point talking further. Forget it. After chatting a while, Kuang Yu finally hinted, I am tired. So perhaps. Shin Sin Din immediately understood and tactfully said, then younger sister will take her leave first. As Lan Tui escorted her out, she bowed. Farewell, consort. Meanwhile, Xie Lam, sitting beside Kuang Yu, could not help asking curiously, Mother Empress, didn't you and Consort Shun have bad blood? How were you able to sit there smiling and chatting together? Kuang Yu gently rubbed her head and reminded her, sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your best ally. In the harem, no one remains an enemy forever. What matters is only weighing profit and loss. Upon hearing these words, Lam obediently replied, "This child will remember Mother Empress's teaching." Then she wondered in bewilderment, is this still really Mother Empress? In the imperial study, Xie was busy with official work. On the memorial before him, the words Tuc Lan had been circled in red. Looking at it, Xie's face darkened as he thought coldly. During this period, the kingdom of Tuc Lan has been far from stable. Rebellions keep breaking out, but Tuc Lan is already a vassal state of great way. So sending troops there is not impossible. The problem is that the one currently holding power in Tuc Lan is that person's subordinate. And as for that person, I do not wish to send troops against him. Just then, an announcement came from outside. Consort Shin requests an audience. Xie immediately replied, "Let her in." In his study, the moment Xie saw Shun Sindin, he asked curiously, "What brings Consort Shin here?" She quickly paid her respects and answered, "I heard that your majesty's health has not been well recently, so I came to ask after you. This concubine has recently learned a new recipe for fermented rice wine. Didn't your majesty once say you liked it? When your majesty visits Fei Qi Pavilion, I will serve it to you." Seeing that Xie did not say a single word, Shun Sindin called softly, "Your majesty? Your majesty? Your majesty, what are you thinking about?" Only then did Xie come back to himself. Looking at her, he said, "I was thinking about the matter of Tuc Lan." The moment she heard that, Shun Sindin frowned inwardly. In the past, his majesty's whole heart was with me. Now who knows whom he is thinking about instead? Then she reached out and moved her hand closer to Xie's, saying gently, "This concubine does not understand affairs of state. But if your majesty is injured, you must tell me. Otherwise I will be very worried." Xie quickly withdrew his hand and replied, "Injured? I'm not injured. Who told my beloved consort such a thing?" Shin Sindin said, "It's good that you are well." This concubine only heard it in passing. "It's all because those eunuchs and maids speak nonsense. When I return, I'll discipline them properly." Hearing those words, Xie immediately grew suspicious. Where did such baseless rumors come from? Could it be that someone in the harem is trying to stir up trouble? Shun Sindin called softly, "Your Majesty." However, Xie remained cold and indifferent as he reminded her, "If there is nothing else, I must continue reviewing memorials." At those words, Shun Sindin could only obediently comply. Then this concubine takes her leave. Even so, displeasure was written all over her face. As she left, Shun Sindin thought to herself, "They say emperors are heartless. Has the man who once lay by my side finally changed his affections?" In the next moment, she shut the door behind her. As soon as Shun Sindin left, Xie immediately asked, "Whom did Consort Shin meet today?" His subordinate replied, "She met the Empress." That surprised Xie somewhat. So it was her again. In the next instant, he let out a cold laugh and thought, "I didn't expect the Empress to know a bit of that cat-scratch martial arts. But she is the daughter of Dukin, so that's not entirely strange." As soon as the thought passed, Xie ordered, "Keep watch on every move in Zeowa Palace. I want to see what tricks she is trying to play." His subordinate obediently answered, "Yes." That night, in the imperial study, a figure was hiding in a corner in the distance, carefully observing the surroundings. It was none other than Kuang Yu in disguise. With a mysterious look, she thought, "A few hidden guards think they can stop me? Not unless the sky falls. Since I can't interrogate him, I'll go find the answer myself." Chai, Kahengeu. At night, the room was still lit by shimmering golden lamplight. Xie was being helped by a subordinate as he changed his clothes. Just then, a sudden rustling sound came from somewhere, and Xie immediately sensed that something was wrong. He then instructed, "Withdraw." His subordinate promptly obeyed. "Yes." Xie blew out the candle in the room, then lay down on the bed and pretended to sleep while thinking to himself. The rat got past the hidden guards. She clapped the dust off her hands and thought confidently, "The sleeping incense has spread everywhere. Even an elephant would sleep like a pig." Thinking that, Kuang Yu commented aloud, "Coward. No vigilance at all, just a pretty shell." Hearing this, Xie, who was pretending to sleep, was instantly furious. The moment she drew close to him, Kuang Yu's mind was already racing. How could he let me get this close so easily? Is he really the mad general? But that scar. At the thought, she recalled the appearance of her former opponent. Then she thought again. That man was not only as overwhelmingly powerful as I am, but also brave, clever, and it spared me time and again. He could be called a true hero. But if this is that useless dog emperor, then he is not worthy of having my TUC lawn. Today will be the day he dies. But if he is the mad general, the moment that thought crossed her mind, Kuang Yu raised her dagger and pointed it straight at Xie. In the very next second, she slashed downward. Kuang Yu was using the dagger to pull open Xie Yi's robe, leaving him stunned and flushed red. As she fell along his body, she thought, better check first whether the wound is real or fake. Had actions infuriated Ji. In an instant, he grabbed Kuang Yu's wrist, then turned and pinned her beneath him as he demanded, "Who are you?" The moment he said it, Xie Yi could not help feeling angry. This person had not come to assassinate him at all, but to molest him. He immediately pulled away the veil covering Kuang Yu's face. The moment he saw her, Xie Yi was struck with shock. How is this possible? The space between them fell deathly silent. Just then, the Empress of TUC Lan Kuang Yu was impersonating suddenly spoke up. It seems the Emperor of Great Wei knows this king. Have we met somewhere before? She could not help feeling puzzled. Damn it, why didn't he fall for the sleeping drug? Did I not blow enough of it? Xie Yi released Kuang Yu and let her sit up. The moment she saw that, she could not help thinking to herself, luckily, my face resembles the Empress's somewhat, so I could disguise myself easily enough to fool him. Otherwise, if the assassination failed, I'd be the one dead. Meanwhile, Xie Yi was also lost in thought. The Empress who founded TUC Lan had portraits everywhere in TUC Lan. She was a rare beauty. But as soon as that thought arose, he lifted Kuang Yu's chin and asked, "She is already dead." Pretending to be the Empress of TUC Lan, what exactly are you after? As soon as he spoke, he thought uneasily. Could she have been sent by the Chancellor? Only he knows my true identity, the twin younger brother of the late emperor. My imperial brother was murdered, and I had no choice but to temporarily take his place on the throne to stabilize the court and the people. The Chancellor is the one who killed my imperial brother, but he has covered his tracks too well, and there is no evidence. But now it seems the other side can no longer hold back and wants to strike first, eliminate me, the fake emperor, so he can help the fifth prince ascend the throne. While Xie Yi was deep in thought, Kuang Yu spoke quickly, pretending, "I am who I am. Why would I need to pretend? On the contrary, trying to take advantage of me. Are you tired of living?" As soon as she finished speaking, she decisively kicked at Xie Yi, then smiled and said, "Though I must say, your majesty is rather damp." She could not help thinking, he didn't call for anyone right away and is actually chatting with me. This is the first time I've ever seen an emperor like this. After listening to her ramble, Xie Yi replied in an icy voice, "Since you refuse to tell the truth, then I would like to see whether, after I capture you, you can still be this stubborn." With that, he struck at once. Kange ou depicted, then countered with a blow of her own. The more Xie Yi watched her moves, the more suspicious he became. These techniques, they were almost identical to those of the Empress of TUC Lan. Could she really be? At that very moment, Xie Yi caught Kuang Yu by the hand, then immediately pulled her toward him. With a stern face, Xie Yi said, "Who exactly are you? Speak, and I may spare your life." Kuang Yu hurriedly shoved him away, and in that instant, a jade pendant suddenly fell to the floor, making Kuang Yu immensely curious. "What is that?" Xie Yi's face abruptly turned deathly pale. Kuang Yu kicked the jade pendant up with her foot, then casually caught it. Looking at the pendant in her hand, she said, "This is..." Under those circumstances, Xie Yi's expression darkened at once, terrifyingly so, and he shouted, "Give it back to me." The sound of their clash rang out nonstop. Unfortunately for him, in the next moment Kuang Yu suddenly said, "I hadn't even had time to see what it was before you rushed to snatch it back." What kind of treasure could make the Emperor of Great Wei value it so dearly? As he tucked the jade pendant back into his clothes, Xie Yi replied, "That is none of your concern." As he said this, he could not help thinking, she doesn't even recognize the most important object belonging to the Empress of TUC Lan, yet she still refuses to admit she is an imposter. At the same time, Kuang Yu was also thinking deeply. That jade pendant was that precious? What a pity I couldn't snatch it away. Damn it, this ruined body is about to give out. I need to get out of here fast. Just then, Xie Yi suddenly said, "You won't escape. Prepare to die." The moment she heard that, Kuang Yu taunted him, "If you've got the skill, then come." Xie clenched his fist and drove it straight at her. As Kuang Yu retreated to dodge, she thought in confusion. This dog emperor, had he still not been using his full strength just now? Perhaps because she was too absorbed in her thoughts, she slammed hard into the table behind her. The impact left Kuang Yu severely injured, coughing up blood as she thought helplessly, "This bastard." Meanwhile, standing before her, Xie said coldly, "Confess who is behind this, and I will let you keep your corpse intact." In response, Kuang Yu calmly held up the jade pendant and said, "Look what this is." At the sight of it, Xie started and immediately reached for his robe pocket, thinking, "When did she?" Kuang Yu smiled slyly and warned, "Let me go or I'll crush it." Just then, Xie Yi's subordinates came rushing toward his room. At that critical moment, Kuang Yu shouted, "Hurry up." Xie had no choice but to comply. "You may go. Leave the jade pendant behind." Under their agreement, Kuang Yu left the jade pendant behind, then leaped away and said, "Farewell, Dog Emperor. May we never meet again." Only then did Xie Yi's subordinates push open the door and enter. They immediately dropped to their knees to apologize. "Your Majesty, forgive us. We were late in coming to protect you." Xie coldly ordered, "Go. Bring that person back to me." His men obediently accepted the order and answered in unison, "Yes, Your Majesty." Outside the palace hall, though it was already dark, voices could still be heard noisily discussing the matter. Meanwhile, at Zehua Palace, Lan Tui was reporting, "Your Majesty, I heard an assassin broke into His Majesty's imperial study tonight. I'm afraid he may even sneak in here. It is late, so if Your Majesty is sleepy, you should rest first. This servant will stand guard and protect you." After saying that, she could not help sighing in relief and thinking, "Good thing all the noise outside from people searching woke me up, or if Her Majesty found out I'd fallen asleep, I'd be done for." After hearing Lan Tui's words, Kuang Yu replied, "Very well. I'm tired too." Lan Tui immediately went outside and shut the door. In the next moment, the other attendants came over and whispered, "Her Majesty has gone to rest? Strange. How can Her Majesty hear that His Majesty encountered an assassin and not be worried at all? She doesn't even seem to have any intention of going to see him." Lan Tui also felt extremely puzzled by Kuang Yu's current behavior. Back then, when His Majesty got bitten by a mosquito, Her Majesty would fuss terribly over it. How is it that now Her Majesty is becoming more and more different? Inside the room, incense smoke curled thickly through the air. Kuang Yu sank in her own thoughts. "The moment I returned, I burned off the disguise. No matter whom they suspect, they would never suspect the Empress herself. But the most important issue right now is the unrest in TUC Lan. TUC Lan is currently under the control of my sworn brother, Noi Trin. I never expected him to submit to Great Wei, and now unrest has broken out as well. The country is in distress, and the people are suffering." The more she thought about it, the tighter she clenched her fists in helplessness. "I cannot just stand by and watch the people suffer, but right now I have no way to escape. I have to find a way to learn what is happening in TUC Lan and let Noi Trin know that I am still alive. But what should I do? That jade pendant, was it that Dog Emperor's precious treasure, or was it white jade? I remember now. It was my token as the Empress of TUC Lan." The instant that thought struck her, she sat bolt upright, and her face suddenly turned pale as she thought, "It is also the item used to command thousands upon thousands of soldiers. I was careless. It actually fell into his hands. If the situation hadn't been chaotic at the time, making me worry others would take advantage of it, and if I hadn't let the Imperial Preceptor hypnotize me, how could I have forgotten something so important?" As soon as the thought passed, she tiredly lay back down on the bed, then thought, "Dog Emperor, one day I will." Duplan. Within the territory of TUC Lan, a circular ritual array had been laid out, and a man knelt obediently within the formation. Directly before him stood a statue of the founding Empress. When suddenly someone's figure approached along with the question, "Imperial Preceptor, how is it?" The Imperial Preceptor, his appearance rapidly aging, immediately answered respectfully, "Heaven has not forsaken us. The Empress has been reborn. This old man's life has not been wasted after all." Upon hearing this, the ruler of TUC Lan, Noi Trin, asked at once, "Where is she? Tell me quickly." With his body gradually fading away, the Imperial Preceptor struggled to speak. The Empress is in Great Wei, in the Great Wei Court. Your Majesty, you must take care." The moment he finished speaking, his body immediately collapsed into a heap of dry bones. Faced with this, Noi Trin fell silent for a long while, then finally said coldly, "The dignified Imperial Preceptor preceptor has died like this. It may still be counted as a contribution to TUC Lawn. Men, the imperial preceptor passed away from revealing too many heavenly secrets. Bury him with the rites of a state funeral. As he watched the imperial preceptor's remains being carried away, Neutrin thought in confusion. The territory of Great Way is so vast. Where am I supposed to find her? But no matter how far it is, I will certainly find the Empress and bring her back to reclaim TUC Land's land and rivers. As for those traitorous clowns swarming like vermin, it is time to purge them all. The next morning, at the Imperial Palace, Kuan Yu sat before a table full of sumptuous dishes. As she picked at the food, she mused to herself, that dog emperor thinks the assassin is someone inside the palace, so he's been searching nonstop for days. It has made me too cautious to do anything at all. I can only stay in Zhaohua Palace and kill time out of boredom. In any case, I need to find something to do. The moment she thought of that, Kuan Yu asked, I just remembered, why hasn't Xietone come by these past 2 days? Lan Tui immediately replied, Your Majesty, the Crown Prince is likely studying obediently at the Imperial Academy. If Your Majesty goes to take a look, you'll know at once. Hearing this, Kuan Yu became somewhat curious. Very well. Help me go and see the place where the princes study. I heard the Crown Prince's teachers are Grand Tutor Li Wenjiao, Lord Li, and Commander of the Imperial Guards, General Lin Xiuqi. Lan Tui's face abruptly turned pale as she said helplessly, Why yes. As soon as she finished speaking, Lan Tui thought uneasily, I wonder whether the Crown Prince will be punished by the Grand Tutor again today. At the same time, at the pavilion of the Imperial Academy, everyone was gathered around a tea table. As a landscape painting was unfurled, a voice sounded. Not to mention 100 taels of gold. Even for 1,000 taels, I wouldn't sell it. Although this spring mountain painting is only a copy made after a work by the Empress of TUC Lawn, it is still first-rate. Seeing that you and I are fated, I brought the painting out for us to admire together. But if you want me to sell it, that is impossible. The speaker was none other than the Crown Prince's Grand Tutor, Li Bunzhou. Hearing those words, Vice Minister of Rites Zhang Han smiled and said, I was only joking. Grand Tutor, please don't take it to heart. Since you are unwilling to part with your treasured item, I will not press the matter. The attendants behind him quickly chimed in. Exactly. Grand Tutor, please be magnanimous. It was only a joke. Zhang Han said, To be able to see it with my own eyes today is already a great honor for me. Many thanks for your generosity, Grand Tutor. But inwardly, he was sneering. Isn't he just an old man? If it weren't for the Empress Dowager backing him, will we really need to watch his expression to survive? Li Wenjiao stroked his beard and replied calmly, Minister Zhang flatters me. This spring mountain painting, 1,000 words omitted. Thus the two of them went on discussing the spring mountain painting at length, heedless of time passing. In the Imperial Academy classroom, the sound of reading aloud echoed everywhere. Then a whisper suddenly came from outside. Xieli slowed down a little. Wait, the second prince born to concubine Fu, Prince Yin Xieli, said happily, if we don't hurry, we won't make it in time to see the good thing the Grand Tutor brought. Hearing this, Xietone said anxiously, if the Grand Tutor catches a skipping class, we'll be beaten again. I'm not going. I still have to study. Xieli immediately reassured him. We won't be found out. Don't worry. Even so, deep down Xieli was thinking something entirely different. If the Grand Tutor punishes us, and this little fool isn't there, who will be the scapegoat? Meanwhile, Xietone was completely unaware and said tearfully in fear, You're awful. At that moment, Kuan Yu was walking toward him. Speaking as she went, send someone to the Imperial kitchen and have a few of the dishes the Crown Prince likes brought to Zhaohua Palace first. The attendant obediently accepted the order at once. Yes, Kuan Yu could not help thinking. That little rascal will probably be hungry after class. I'll have some food prepared for him to eat when he gets back. As she thought this, she calmly walked forward. But in the very next second, a loud voice rang out from somewhere, startling both Kuan Yu and Lan Tui. Outrageous. Such terrible conduct. The moment she heard that, Kuan Yu worried to herself. Don't tell me the Crown Prince has gotten into trouble again. Full of helplessness, she pressed a hand to her forehead and said, Go inside and see what happened. Hearing that, Lan Tui immediately agreed. Yes. After asking around for a while, Lan Tui returned and whispered to Kuan Yu. Upon hearing it, Kuan Yu was taken aback. What? Just then, several attendants quickly approached. And upon seeing Kuan Yu, They bowed and saluted. "Long live the Empress." Kuan Yu replied coolly, "Rise. This is the Crown Prince's Grand Tutor, Lord Li." Li Wenjiao immediately answered, "It is I. What matter brings your Majesty to the Imperial Academy?" Hearing that, Kuan Yu forced a helpless smile and thought, "If I came here, what else could it be for? To see the Crown Prince, obviously. This Grand Tutor speaks strangely." Then she quickly said, "I came to see the Crown Prince. By this hour class should be over. Where's the Crown Prince?" At that, Li Wenjiao answered angrily, "The Crown Prince? Your Majesty has come at just the right time. I too am looking for His Highness the Crown Prince." He began to explain. After appraising the painting, I and Minister Zhang went together to the martial training grounds to find General Lin. That painting had clearly been properly rolled up and placed neatly on the table. Other than the missing Crown Prince, who else would be so mischievous as to steal the painting? With conduct like that, how can he possibly bear the responsibility of being Crown Prince? Kuan Yu's face darkened at once when she heard his certainty, and she immediately asked, "Since the Grand Tutor speaks so confidently, I assume you already have evidence in hand?" Li Wenjiao immediately turned to look at Xie Li and asked, "Your Highness Prince Xian, are you certain you saw His Highness the Crown Prince take my Spring Mountain painting?" Xie Li replied, "Grand Tutor, I really did see Crown Prince Brother take something from the table and run off. He even skipped your self-study session. As for whether what the Crown Prince took was your treasured item or not, this prince does not dare say for certain." The moment Xie Li finished speaking, a voice suddenly rang out from nowhere, firm and resolute. "You're lying." A figure slowly stepped forward. It was none other than the fourth prince, Xielin. The boy declared loudly, "Mother Empress, he's lying. I saw with my own eyes that he dragged Xie away to skip the Grand Tutor's class." As soon as he said it, Xielin thought to himself, "I only wanted to watch the fun." Who would have thought this guy would push all the blame onto Xie? The instant he heard Xielin's words, Xie Li immediately retorted, This prince did skip class, that's true, but the item was definitely taken by Xie. I can swear to it." Hearing this, Xielin let out a cold snort and thought, "Let's see how you keep making things up." In this situation, Kuan Yu could not help thinking, after all, he's only a child. Now that he's been exposed, it's no wonder he's flustered and tripping over his words. Wait, this Prince Xian seems to be that Lady Fu's son. No wonder he's so thoroughly unlikable. With that thought, she spoke at once. "Prince Xian, think carefully before you speak. Once I find the Crown Prince, if your statements do not match word for word, don't blame me for being harsh on children." The moment he saw Kuan Yu's terrifying expression, Xie Li was so frightened that his face turned pale. This prince. Then he burst into helpless tears and thought, "Damn Xielin. It's all his fault for exposing me. The Empress is terrifying." At that moment, a subordinate suddenly stepped forward to report, "Your Majesty." Kuan Yu asked in confusion, "Have you found the Crown Prince?" The subordinate quickly replied, "We have already searched all the places the Crown Prince usually goes, but we still have not found any trace of him." Hearing this, Kuan Yu could not help thinking, where on earth did that child run off to? That little bun definitely wouldn't steal anything. Could something have happened to him? Meanwhile, Li Wenjiao and the others were whispering among themselves nonstop. What's there to say? He must have run off because he felt guilty. It's all because this old man hasn't disciplined him strictly enough. Fu Shiru appeared out of nowhere and abruptly cut in. How lively it is here today. Your Majesty, the Empress has time to come inspect the children's studies as well. As she spoke, she walked toward Kuan Yu. Then she performed a light salute. "Greetings, Your Majesty. I heard the Crown Prince is missing, yet Your Majesty still has the leisure to stand here investigating the cause." As soon as she finished speaking, Fu Shiru turned to Xie Li and called out, "Lyra, come here." Xie Li immediately reached his hand out to her. Seeing this, Lan Tui could not help whispering in Kuan Yu's ear, "Your Majesty." Kuan Yu silently thought, she's nothing more than a minor Jiyu. Yet just because she enjoys the Emperor's favor, she already acts like no one else matters. If it were the former Empress, she would have exploded with rage by now. After taking Xie Li with her, Fu Shiru immediately turned to leave. "If Your Majesty has no other business, this concubine will take Prince Xian and withdraw first." As soon as she finished, she leisurely turned away. However, Kuan Yu thought to herself, "But I'm not that soft-hearted." The moment that thought ended, she shouted, Stop. Hearing that, Fu Shiuru halted and asked, Does your majesty have further instructions? Surely you don't intend to detain a prince? Prince Xian is the only prince of Great Wei to have received a title. He does not need to obey the Empress's orders. At this, Kuang Yu's face turned icy as she replied, Are you trying to instruct me? She could not help thinking, if Prince Xian gets away, then won't the crown prince be forced to bear that charge for sure? I will never let that little bun take this blame. With that thought, Kuan Yu declared firmly, until the crown prince's whereabouts are known, not only may Prince Xian not leave, no one in this imperial academy may leave either. Men, summon the imperial guards and have them await my orders. Hearing her say this, Lan Tui standing nearby was full of admiration. Your majesty is mighty. Li Wenjiao too was stunned in thought. This empress is completely different from the rumors. A subordinate quickly stepped forward. Lin Tuki, commander of the imperial guards, saluted Kuang Yu and said, This subject arrived late. I beg your majesty's forgiveness. Kuang Yu immediately ordered, Surround them. In the face of the situation, Fu Shiru panicked so badly that her face went white. Your majesty cannot detain this concubine. Xieli too cried out in terror, Mother, save me. Meanwhile, Kuan Yu remained perfectly calm and thought, things have reached this point. It seems the matter of the crown prince skipping class is not so simple after all. Then she said clearly, So what if I arrest you? Men, escort Prince Xian to a room. At this, Fu Shiuru was cornered, while the subordinates standing around looked troubled, not knowing what to do. Fu Shiru suddenly shouted in fury, I'd like to see who dares touch him. The crown prince's disappearance has nothing to do with Xieli. Your majesty cannot imprison us just because of a few words from the sixth prince. I'm afraid that's rather against the rules. At this, Kuang Yu let out a cold laugh and replied, Against the rules? Here, I am the rule. Fu Shiuru was rendered speechless. Meanwhile, Kuang Yu continued in a ringing voice, Then keep your eyes open and see whether I dare or not. Why are the imperial guards still standing there? What? My words no longer carry weight. Must I repeat myself a second time? Hearing this, the imperial guards hurriedly answered, We would not dare. Please forgive us, your majesty. They could not help thinking fearfully and cautiously, the rumors really can't be trusted. Who said her majesty only knew how to argue and make trouble? The next second, Lin Tuki stepped up to Fu Shiuru and said, Jiu Fu, forgive the offense. Kuang Yu added, Take Prince Xian away. This made Fu Shiuru furious beyond measure. Rebellion! Rebellion! Have you all stopped valuing your lives? Damn you! His Majesty will never spare you. Meanwhile, Xieli, being seized, was so frightened that he burst into loud sobs. Mother! Mother! Struggling and resisting, Fu Shiuru challenged them. What if I insist on taking Prince Xian away? Lin Tuki, standing nearby, immediately tried to calm her. Jiu Fu, please calm your anger. Once the crown prince is found, Her Majesty the Empress will certainly release you. Kuang Yu, however, paid no attention and continued issuing orders. If mother and son are so deeply attached, then men, take Jiu Fu away as well. As soon as she finished speaking, she thought to herself, You think I'm afraid? A mere favored concubine, how is she worthy? As she was being taken away, Fu Shiuru was utterly shocked. I am one of His Majesty's favored consorts. Which of you dares touch me? Lin Tuki, just you wait. But Kuang Yu did not care in the slightest. She walked up to Li Wenjiao and said, Very well, let's continue. Grand Tutor Li, rest assured, I will give you a satisfactory answer. Li Wenjiao promptly bowed and said, I hope your majesty will do as you say. Otherwise, this old man will have to report the matter to his majesty. In the imperial study, Xie was working intently when a subordinate suddenly entered and reported, Your majesty, something has happened in the harem again. Should you go and take a look? The moment he heard this, the brush in Xie Yi's hand snapped in two. Feeling utterly helpless, he thought, This is exactly why I had no interest in the throne in the first place. State affairs are already exhausting enough, and on top of that, there are endless battles in the harem. After thinking for a moment, Xie asked in confusion, Who is it this time? One stick of incense later, Xie said, As long as the crown prince is unharmed, it's fine. Tell the shadow guards not to interfere for now. Once he spoke, he fell into thought again. The harem has been rather quiet lately. The Fu family's general's manor, the power of the Duke Ongwa's estate behind the Empress, and the Shun family as well. Water that is too clear has no fish. It may not be a bad thing to let the Empress stir things up a little. That way, the people hiding in the shadows won't be able to resist making a move. At dusk, ask? Kuan Yu asked in confusion. What? You've searched everywhere already? General Lin, keep sending more men to search. All the palace maids and eunuchs as well. Every single one of them is to go search for someone for me. As soon as she said it, she could not help thinking anxiously. With this many people searching, how can they still fail to find one child? Under her orders, the imperial guards answered at once, "Yes, Your Majesty." At this moment, Li Wenjiao, standing to one side, hastily suggested, "Your Majesty should report this matter to His Majesty and have him take charge." The old man worried to himself, "At this point, I can't care about the painting anymore. If anything really happens to the crown prince, everyone in the Imperial Academy will be implicated." Meanwhile, Lan Tui also asked anxiously, "Your Majesty, the crown prince will be all right, won't he?" Li Wenjiao quickly turned and strode off, saying, "This old man will go at once." But before he could go far, Kuan Yu stopped him. "I will find Crown Prince. If Grand Tutor is tired, you may go back and rest first. Don't cause additional trouble." The moment she heard this, Lan Tui also immediately said, "Grand Tutor, this way please." In this situation, Li Wenjiao was in no position to refuse. He only frowned, wanting to speak but ultimately holding back. "You." In the resting room, the moment Fu Shiru saw him enter, she gave a cold laugh and said, "Grand Tutor, you've been invited in here too?" Li Wenjiao immediately bowed and replied, "Her Majesty asked this old man to come here and rest for a bit. Are you all still well, Lord Zhang?" Zhang Han, standing some distance away, asked in confusion, "Lord Li, what exactly happened? Why has the crown prince gone missing?" Someone beside him quickly cut in, "Exactly. We arrived after you. So why have we been dragged into this and invited in here too? This is truly unjust." In the face of it all, Li Wenjiao could only grit his teeth and endure, unable to say anything, as he thought helplessly, "This is the first time I've ever had to suffer something like this." Zhang Han suddenly spoke up for him. "If Her Majesty has forbidden him to speak, then don't press Lord Li any further." Li Wenjiao immediately chimed in, Yes. My apologies, gentlemen. Once we're out, I'll treat you all to a drink." As soon as he said it, he thought in surprise, "I didn't expect him to help me out of this predicament." After that, they resumed chatting. "Everyone, sit over here. Don't worry. As for that painting of yours." While everyone was busy talking, Zhang Han moved to a hidden corner and asked in a low voice, "How have things been arranged?" As soon as he spoke, he felt uneasy. The matter has grown so large. If it's discovered, beheading will be hard to avoid. The subordinate beside him quickly answered, "My lord, please rest assured. This servant has already arranged for everything to be dealt with. By the time this matter succeeds, they will certainly have already left the palace. Nothing will happen." Hearing this, Zhang Han smiled sinisterly and said, "Good, very good." Elsewhere, Fu Sueru was sitting quietly in her place when Lan Xian said worriedly, "Your Majesty, we can't just sit here waiting forever. Even if Your Majesty does not think of yourself, you should think of Prince Xian." What if? Before Lan Xian could finish, Fu Sueru cut her off with a scowl. "I don't need you to speak up. Am I not already thinking of a way?" At that moment, Lan Xian suddenly leaned close and whispered a suggestion into her ear. "This servant has an idea." On hearing it, Fu Shiru asked, "Is that true?" Lan Xian immediately smiled and replied, "Your Majesty can try making a grand move and see how everyone reacts. That Grand Tutor, Li, is known for being a stubborn old fossil. As long as he raises a ruckus that reaches His Majesty's ears, Her Majesty the Empress won't escape punishment." As soon as she heard this, Fu Shiru began calculating inwardly. If it makes His Majesty dislike the Crown Prince, then even if Cieli gets implicated in the end, it will still be worth it. Then she said, "Very well, I'll give it a try." The next second, Fu Sueru immediately sprang into action. "Grand Tutor Li, surely you know what the Crown Prince is usually like. We can't let Her Majesty the Empress keep making such a commotion." Hearing this, Li Wenjiao was puzzled. "What do you mean, Jiyu?" Fu Sueru smiled and replied, "Who understands a child better than his mother? The Empress is so protective of her son. So, is it that she truly cannot find him, or that she does not want to? Perhaps by the time the Crown Prince is found, your painting will already have been destroyed." The moment he heard this, Li Wenjiao was stunned. He could not help thinking, the Crown Prince is usually mischievous and stubborn. Could it be that the Empress is deliberately covering for him? The next second, Li Wenjiao furiously slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "No wonder you're so calm. So you were prepared all along. And here I was, worrying the whole time about the Crown Prince's safety." Zhang Han, standing nearby, also chimed in, "We've been played by the Empress. Seeing Zhang Han's attitude, Fu Shiweru grew curious. Who was the one helping me fan the flames just now? Why don't I remember him? Meanwhile, the people in front of her were still speaking heatedly. This is outrageous. We must report this to His Majesty. Let's see who dares stop me. Lan Xian, standing beside Fu Shiweru, immediately said, "That was Lord Zhang Han. He once sought an audience with you before." Upon hearing that, Fu Shiweru smiled to herself. He seems like someone worth befriending. Anyone who stands against the Empress is a good friend of mine. Fu Shiweru. In the main hall, after setting her teacup down on the table, Kuang Yu asked, "Why has Grand Tutor Li come out? Was someone attending to you improperly?" Li Wenjiao answered sternly, "Your Majesty the Empress, Li has come to ask a question. Can Your Majesty find the Crown Prince or not? Can Your Majesty recover my painting or not?" This question left Kuang Yu somewhat puzzled. "What do you mean by that?" Li Wenjiao angrily replied at once. "Li wants to know the true situation. I ask Your Majesty not to conceal it any longer." When she saw Fu Shiweru behind him taunting her, Kuang Yu immediately understood the problem. "Just as I thought, someone's pulling strings behind this." Then she said, "I have not hidden the Crown Prince away. How about Grand Tutor waits a little longer? Once everything is clear, I will certainly give Grand Tutor a satisfactory explanation." Li Wenjiao replied sternly, "If Your Majesty will not hand over the Crown Prince, then this old man has no choice but to report the matter to His Majesty and ask him to uphold justice for me." The others also responded in unison. "That's right. We ask His Majesty to uphold justice." Hearing this, Kuang Yu slammed her palm onto the table in irritation and said, "How dare you openly slander me? Men, drag Grand Tutor Li and this crowd away from me." The subordinates immediately obeyed. Yes, as he was seized, Li Wenziao shouted, "Let this old man go. I am a Crown Prince's Grand Tutor. Even His Majesty gives me some measure of respect. You people are blind and do not know Mount Tai." Zhang Han, standing nearby, also added fuel to the fire. "How dare you lay hands on the Grand Tutor? If something happens, who will take responsibility?" Lan Tui grew a little worried at the sight and hurriedly reminded Kuang Yu, "The Grand Tutor does carry some weight in the palace. If he truly reports this to His Majesty, then both you and the Crown Prince will." Kuang Yu said calmly, "I will find the Crown Prince. If Grand Tutor is tired, he may go back and rest first. Don't create any further trouble. Besides, he will be the Crown Prince's teacher in the future." Panting heavily with fatigue, Li Wenjiao said, "Your Majesty the Empress, if you do not explain things clearly to this old man today, I will not let the matter rest." This made Kuang Yu thoroughly displeased, and she thought to herself, "These stubborn old men really won't give up until they see the coffin." Meanwhile, Fu Shiweru hypocritically fussed over Li Wenjiao. "Why aren't you hurrying to summon the Imperial Physician? Grand Tutor, are you all right?" An Imperial guard said uncertainly, "Your Highness, look." Faced with the scene before her, Kuang Yu could only give the order wearily, "Go call the Imperial Physician." Li Wenjiao, however, remained adamant. "Even if this old man dies here today, I will have the truth out." This situation was clearly unfavorable to Kuang Yu. Yet Fu Shiweru was secretly delighted. An unfavored empress. Let's see who His Majesty chooses to believe. Zhang Han was calculating as well. "Sooner or later, I'll drag you down from that empress's throne." The lackeys around them all had schemes of their own too. "Send all your children to the Cold Palace." The more clearly Kuang Yu saw their intentions, the more helpless she felt. Whether in her previous life or this one, these people all want to harm me. All wanted to pull me down. The moment that thought crossed her mind, she spoke sternly. "Tomorrow, I will uncover the truth and return the Grand Tutor's painting intact. If I fail, I will personally submit a memorial to His Majesty and ask that a new empress be appointed." Fu Shiweru smiled darkly to herself. "Fine then, she's destroying herself. No one would ever trust an empress who has completely lost her reputation. I've got that empress's seat in the bag. When the time comes, my son will stand above all others." In the main hall of the Imperial Academy, everyone rushed out together to search for the Crown Prince. Urgent voices rang out everywhere. "Keep looking. Even if we have to turn the entire palace upside down, we must find him." Sitting in the room and waiting, Kuang Yu thought in confusion, "It's already so late. A child of 4 or 5. Could he really just vanish into thin air?" Just then, Xia Lin suddenly came in and asked, "Mother Empress, why are you sitting here in such a daze? Are you troubled by something?" As he spoke, the boy walked over to Kuang Yu, then answered his own question. It's because Sieton still hasn't been found, right? Mother Empress must want to ask where he went. But your son isn't very close to Sieton either, so I don't know where he went. The moment she heard those words, Kwon Yu sensed something off. The two of them used to stick together all day long, and now he was saying they weren't close? That was practically confessing without confessing. She quickly asked, then where do you usually go to play? Hesitating, Ciel Lin answered, the Imperial Garden. That fool likes the rockeries there. The moment she heard that, Kwon Yu pointed out, you went to the Imperial Garden too, didn't you? Your clothes are dirty. Ciel Lin blushed in embarrassment and explained, I ate a little too much at dinner, so I just went there for a short walk. I didn't mean anything by it. But of course, that excuse did not convince Kwon Yu in the least. As she straightened his clothes, she thought, as if I believed that. Then she said gently, all right, I understand. It's late now. Wash up and go to bed early. In the Imperial Garden, Kwon Yu held a small flower petal she had just picked off Ciel Lin's clothing. She walked forward hesitantly, thinking helplessly as she went, they're just little children. It's nothing too serious. I can slowly teach them better. After walking for a while, Kwon Yu suddenly noticed a brilliant cluster of roses in the Imperial Garden. She quickly compared them, then immediately called out, Sieton, chubby, little crown prince, are you here? But the Imperial Garden remained strangely quiet, leaving Kwon Yu puzzled. How odd. The next second, Kwon Yu leaped up at once. The moment she saw the small footprints pressed into ground, she was certain. These footprints must be Sieton's. A little brat wants to trick me? My instincts have never been wrong, except for that one time. She had never imagined that she, a founding empress in her former life, would be murdered by her own kin. Just as that thought crossed her mind, Kwon Yu suddenly noticed something unusual below. There's a gap here. The moment she saw Sieton, she hurried down in alarm. Chubby, wake up now, or I'll spank you. Huh? Why is your fever so high? A group of people hidden in the shrubbery, not far away, saw Kwon Yu and whispered to those beside them, men, hurry up and call the imperial physician. Luckily she's here. We can go report it now. At Zhaohua Palace, Kwon Yu said anxiously, why is he still so hot even after taking the medicine? The physician immediately replied, Your Highness, the medicine needs time before its effects take hold. Please don't be too anxious. As she looked after Sieton, Kwon Yu thought deeply. Although we've found him, the matter still isn't clear. The Spring Mountain painting isn't on him. I'll have to wait until he wakes up tomorrow to ask what exactly happened this morning. The moment that thought ended, she gave an order at once. Pass word below. No one is to spread news that the crown prince has been found. Tomorrow, I have my own plans. Lan Tui obey. Yes. At that moment, Sieton suddenly trembled and murmured, Mother Empress, please don't kill me. The maids all said Mother Empress was the one who killed Mother Consort. Please don't kill Sieton. Sieton will be good and listen. The moment she heard those words, Kwon Yu placed a hand on the boy. Then she said gently, silly child, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago. At that moment, someone standing in the distance suddenly clenched his fist and thought, I want Mother Empress's affection too. That person was none other than Ciel Lin. Aggrieved and unwilling to accept it, he muttered, how annoying. If I'd known, I wouldn't have brought you those buns. The flames flickered and illuminated the room. After lying unconscious for some time, Sieton finally woke up. The boy sat bolt upright and said, why am I here? Mother Empress, you. Before he could finish, panic drained the color from his face. Oh no, Mother Empress found out I ruined the painting. If she punishes me, I definitely won't escape death. Meanwhile, Kwon Yu replied with great gentleness, are you thirsty? Drink some water first. Why do you have so many questions? Sieton immediately took the cup she handed him and drank obediently in big gulps. After a while, Kwon Yu questioned him, Sieton, why were you alone in the Imperial Garden? The moment he heard that question, the cup in Sieton's hand shattered to the floor. Terrified, the boy started crying miserably. So it's finally come to this? As soon as that thought ended, Sieton said weakly, Mother Empress, please don't kill me. Crying as he spoke, he explained, at first, I was in self-study class, but then Cieli dragged me away to see the Grand Tutor's treasure. Cieli pushed me, and I bumped into the ink jar, so ink splashed onto the painting. Cieli wanted to go tell the Grand Tutor. Then Mother Empress would definitely punish me, maybe even kill me, the way they said you kill my mother. In that situation, Kwon Yu quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe away Sieton's tears, asking in bafflement, you're crying this hard over something so small? And besides, who told you that I killed your mother? At that, Sieton looked at her through tearful eyes and asked, you won't kill me? Then, will you hit my hand with a ruler? Kuan Yu replied, I won't do that. If you want to know the truth, Mother Empress will tell you one day. What matters right now is this. Where is the spring mountain painting? As soon as she said that, she thought to herself, the painting was ruined. Even if I do find it, I'll still have to step down. Why did I make such a bold promise back then? The next second, Kuan Yu suggested, if not, maybe we could just find someone to paint another one. Xietone suddenly looked at her with innocent confusion. But doesn't Mother Empress know how to paint? Kuan Yu hurriedly explained. What nonsense are you talking about? I've never even seen that painting before. Xietone immediately replied. But before at Zhaohua Palace, I saw Mother Empress paint one. It looked exactly the same. Hearing that, Kuan Yu could not help thinking, if it comes to painting, I'm actually pretty amazing. Back then, I accidentally ruined one of Wei Zhen's treasured paintings, so I painted another one to compensate him. Who would have thought that painting was actually the Spring Mountain painting? As soon as that thought ended, she quickly reminded him, Xietone, from now on, don't go talking carelessly outside about what happens in Zhaohua Palace, understood? Kuan Yu seemed slightly worried about this. If someone exploited it, she might not even realize it. Xietone nodded obediently at once. Mother Empress, don't worry. If you don't want others to know, then I won't say anything. That made Kuan Yu extremely happy, and she gently rubbed the boy's head. After a while, she stood up and ordered, Lan Tui, bring me brush and ink. If that's the case, then I'll just paint the Grand Tutor another Spring Mountain painting. Seeing what Kuan Yu was doing for him, Xietone was filled with admiration. Looking at her as though she were shining with a dazzling halo, he thought, Mother Empress is doing this, so I won't be punished. I hope she'll always stay like this and never go back to being the Mother Empress she used to be. Night had already fallen outside, but Kuan Yu was still absorbed in repainting the picture for Xietone. Looking on, he sighed in amazement. Mother Empress is incredible. Kuan Yu answered confidently, of course. I'm your Mother Empress. After all, painting a few pictures is nothing. I even know how to wage war. At that, she could not help reminding him, tomorrow, when you see the Grand Tutor, make sure you admit your mistake. As for everything else, leave it to Mother Empress. And another thing, you're not allowed to skip class again, understood? Xietone obediently replied, understood, Mother Empress. Once she had finished what she needed to do, Kuan Yu sat down on the bed and said, all right, dawn is almost here. Go to sleep now. It's been an exhausting day. Xietone suddenly ran over and said innocently, your son wants to sleep with Mother Empress. Hearing that, Kuan Yu found it strange. Didn't this child used to be terribly afraid of me? And now he's actually asking to sleep beside me? Meanwhile, Xietone had already climbed onto the bed and pulled up the covers as he said, Mother Empress, don't send me away. The moment I close my eyes, I'll fall asleep. Kuan Yu smiled and replied, fine, I won't send you away. Not long after he fell asleep, she put her clothes back on and stared intently at the painting in her hands. At the Imperial Academy, Kuan Yu covered her face and hid carefully in a corner. She darted forward and slipped into the Imperial Academy, while the soldiers on night watch yawned sleepily. After finishing what she had come to do, Kuan Yu thought happily to herself, done. The next day, Fu Shiru's face was pale and listless with frustration. Sitting in her chair, she thought irritably, the Empress locked us up here all night, while she herself slept soundly. I sent those people to find His Majesty, and yet there hasn't been the slightest response. A bunch of useless trash. Not one of them can get anything done. The moment that thought ended, Fu Shiru raised her voice. What time is it already? Her Majesty the Empress still refuses to show herself, and she won't release us either. What exactly does she mean by this? This directly startled Cieli awake from beside her. Lin Tuki hurriedly answered, Her Majesty the Empress will arrive shortly. Please remain calm. Hearing that, Fu Shiru shot to her feet with a bang and said angrily, Calm? A mere little commander like you dares order me around? I think you're tired of living. Her attitude frightened Cieli, and the next second he burst into loud tears. Meanwhile, Fu Shiru continued irritably, I'd like to see who dares stop me. People from outside were also filing in one after another, all confused and bewildered. What's going on? At the same time, at Zhaohua Palace, Lan Tui hurriedly reported to Kuan Yu, Your Highness, things are in an uproar at the Imperial Academy. Would you like to go take a look? At that moment, Kuan Yu was watching Xietone eat while reminding him, Why are you eating so fast? What if you choke? Seeing how calm she still was, Lantui grew even more worried. His Majesty already dislikes Her Highness. If this matter reaches His Majesty's ears and turns into a scandal, I'm afraid Her Highness's position in the harem will be hard to keep. Kuang Yu said leisurely, just let them do as they please. They're only making trouble because they have too much free time. Oh, right. Later, make me a new hairstyle. I'm tired of this one. Her attitude left Lantui staring open-mouthed in utter shock. Lantui nearly cried as she thought helplessly, is it still possible to change masters at this point? At that moment, Fu Shiuru rested her chin in her hand and smiled slyly. What more is there to say? Last night, Cieli made it perfectly clear. How could they possibly talk their way out of this now? Then light footsteps approached. It was Sieton, stepping forward to bow respectfully. Grand Tutor Li, I apologize. They were all startled at first, but the next moment, whispers and accusations broke out everywhere. Could it really be that His Highness the Crown Prince stole it? He's the Crown Prince, and yet he steals? What kind of behavior is that? And not just from anyone. He stole from his own teacher. That made Fu Shiuru secretly delighted, just as expected of the good son you raised. An apology is the same as a confession, isn't it? And you still think you can fight me? Sieton lowered his head as he silently recalled yesterday's plan. Mother Empress told me to do it like this yesterday. Did I do it right? Everything was proceeding exactly according to Kuang Yu's plan. Excellent. Grand Tutor Li strode forward with a thunderous expression. So the Crown Prince admits that he stole this old man's painting? But Sieton shook his head and answered innocently, I didn't steal it. I'm only apologizing for skipping class yesterday. Everyone gaped in utter disbelief. Skipping class? Sieton nodded repeatedly, remembering Kuang Yu's instruction. Mother Empress said that if you know you were wrong, you must admit it. So I admitted my mistake. After that, the child happily threw himself into her arms, like an obedient little boy seeking praise. Fu Shiuru immediately stepped forward and shouted harshly, if you say you didn't steal it, then you didn't steal it? We have both witness testimony and evidence. Let's see how you get out of this. Kuang Yu also stepped forward, not allowing her to stir up trouble. How bold. The matter has not yet been fully clarified, and you are already trying to convict the Crown Prince. Fu Shiuru still looked down on her and snapped back. Does Your Majesty the Empress intend to shield the Crown Prince? So many eyes in the Imperial Academy saw it. Only then did Kuang Yu slowly seize the opening. Did any of them see with their own eyes that the Crown Prince took the Grand Tutor's painting away? Cieli, did you see it with your own eyes? Being called by name, the boy clasped his hands respectfully. In reply to Imperial Mother, your son did not personally witness it. However, the Grand Tutor's painting disappeared after the Crown Prince vanished without a trace. So yesterday your son made that statement. I ask Imperial Mother to forgive me. Kuang Yu's expression turned cold with contempt toward them. So they're just going to brush everything aside and pretend they're innocent. If I hadn't prepared in advance, then in the current situation, I would probably have been buried alive by this crowd's gossip by now. At this moment, the Minister of Rights stepped out and, aiming his words at Kuang Yu, said, if we simply argue back and forth, the matter can't be clarified. In that case, let us report everything to His Majesty. Fuxueru nodded in agreement. That's right. Invite His Majesty to preside. And while we're at it, use this opportunity to remove the Crown Prince from his position. But Kuang Yu quickly stepped out and stopped them. Wait. She sat down in a chair and ordered the guards, search the entire palace again. But it seems there is still one place that has never been searched. Who's to say the painting everyone has been looking high and low for isn't still in the Imperial Academy? The Minister of Rights frowned and objected loudly. That's impossible. Your Majesty the Empress, please stop stalling for time. Everyone was locked up all night. Fu Shiuru also sneered openly. I already had someone take the Spring Mountain painting away. How could it possibly still be here? Faced with their objections, Kuang Yu merely asked coldly, if we don't search, how will we know? Fu Shiuru still thought she held all the cards and deliberately provoked her. Very well, we'll do as Your Majesty wishes, just so you can give up completely. But Your Majesty had better not forget what you said yesterday. Otherwise, I will abdicate myself. Kuang Yu's gaze stayed fixed on her. So this was what she had been waiting for all along. Fu Shiuru lifted her brows smugly. She had only ended up hoisting herself by her own petard. The order had already been given. Search the place. After a thorough search, the painting was presented before them. Grand Tutor, this is your spring mountain painting, is it not? Startled, Grand Tutor Li Wenjiao hurried over to inspect it. Yes, this is indeed my spring mountain painting. The two men, one old and one young, felt a chill run down their spines as they stared at the scene before them. How could this be? Didn't you say? Sweat beading on his forehead, Zhang Han stepped forward and hastily explained. So, it was all just a misunderstanding. Since the spring mountain painting has been found, let us end the matter here. Li Wenjiao also clasped his hands and apologized respectfully. It was this old minister's carelessness. I wrongly accused your highness the crown prince. I beg your highness's forgiveness. Standing behind them, Fu Xiuru hated Kuang Yu from the bottom of her heart. She had prepared in advance. That was why she had been so confident. How hateful. Having successfully put that woman in her place, Kuang Yu glanced back with a faint smile. Taking Li Wenjiao's hand, she smoothed things over. I, too, believe a small matter should not be blown out of proportion. You two ministers have worked hard. The two men lowered their heads, not daring to accept the praise. We dare not. We dare not. After that, they could only hurry away. Kuang Yu then stepped closer to Fu Xiuru and reminded her, don't think today's matter ends here. Jiu Fu, do be careful on your way back. Furious, Fu Xiuru retreated to the rear palace in a foul mood. This concubine takes her leave. In the end, only the three of them remained, sighing in exhausted relief. After a whole tiring day, it was finally over. She bent slightly and gently cupped Xie Tone's bun-like cheeks. But this deep and treacherous inner palace holds far more than just the trouble we had today. In the future, many more troubles will come for the crown prince. For me, one wrong step means losing 10,000 miles. In the imperial study, the emperor frowned and glanced below. I thought you used to hate the empress. Why have you suddenly changed? Lin Tuki folded his arms and shook his head. That was in the past. But as for what happened today, I think the empress is very much like. Like whom? Frowning, the man rested his chin on his hand and spoke a name all too familiar. Like the founding empress of TUC Lawn. Exactly. I remember, even the name is the same. Has your majesty thought of anything? The emperor frowned in disapproval and immediately snapped. Nonsense. She was Imperial Brother's empress. Why would I be mad enough to think of her? But Lin Tuki chuckled and provoked him with teasing words. Come on, smile. Though if you carry that thing around with you all day, of course it will remind you of her. It doesn't really matter anyway. Why not just find someone else? Turning away, he replied coldly. There will never be a second one. Lin Tuki glanced at his friend and muttered, Enough. This is truly pointless. Then what was the rush in leaving back then? Only regretting it after she's gone. Serves you right, Xie. The image of the Kuang Yu from years ago surfaced in his mind again. Even if I really had confessed back then, what use would it have been? The two nations were sworn enemies. In the end, it would only have led to tragedy. As the two were talking, a voice came from outside. Your Majesty, Grand Tutor Li requests an audience. Lin Tuki stepped back to let Xie handle matters of state more easily. Let him in. Grand Tutor Li, what is it? The old man respectfully cupped his hands in salute. This minister greets your Majesty. Inside his sleeve was a tightly rolled painting. Grand Tutor Li personally presented it to the emperor. Your Majesty, this minister has brought the spring mountain painting your Majesty was seeking previously. Might your Majesty still have use for it? The emperor frowned and asked, the spring mountain painting? Isn't that the masterpiece of the Empress of TUC Lawn? Grand Tutor Li's eyes lit up like stars as he nodded. That's right. Wang Yi's original masterpiece was destroyed long ago. At present, the only complete spring mountain painting left in the world is the one by the Empress of TUC Lawn. However, this one is hardly any different from the original. Xie nodded with interest. Good. Very good. Grand Tutor Li stepped forward, opened the spring mountain painting on the table, and let him admire it. Grand Tutor Li wore the expression of someone who had done something praiseworthy and was waiting to be commended. It is rare to see your Majesty take an interest in Wang Yi's works. This painting, but Xie immediately frowned and raised a hand to stop him. Leave the painting here for a few days. It's getting late, Grand Tutor. In the next second, the old man's blossoming smile darkened completely. Was this using him and then casting him aside? Though unwilling, he could only obey the imperial order. Then this old minister takes his leave. Father and son really were exactly alike. As soon as he stepped outside, he ran into a guard making a report. There was another prisoner being escorted in. Grand Tutor Li also stood aside, respectfully as the man was brought in. After hearing the report, Lin Tuki frowned. Why are there two paintings? Could the one grand tutor kept be a fake? He strode before the prisoner and questioned him. Where did you steal this painting from? Who ordered you to do it? Terrified, the man hurriedly begged. This lowly one truly knows nothing. Lin Tuki ignored his plea and continued the interrogation. Who set you up? Why did you appear at the Imperial Academy? The man lowered his head, trembling in fear. This lowly one really knows nothing. As he spoke, he suddenly pulled a concealed weapon from inside his shoe. The rope around his body snapped loose, and the blade shot straight towards Xie. Lin Tuki reacted in time, drawing his sword to block it. With such pitiful skill, you still dared come here to assassinate someone? You truly have a death wish. Seeing the attempt fail, the man bit his tongue and killed himself. I never intended to leave alive anyway. After that, he collapsed, no longer breathing. A guard stepped forward to check and quickly reported, he's become a corpse. He's dead. Xie furiously barked below. It seems strangers have infiltrated the palace recently. Kill anyone who dares come before me. Commander Lin, do you know your crime? Lin Tuki bowed respectfully. I beg your majesty for punishment. Search thoroughly for me. Yes, your majesty. After they left, Xie finally murmured to himself as he examined the painting. Clearly, the paper of this painting was newer, and he had already formed his own suspicions. Moreover, the paper used for this new painting was still the type commonly used in the palace. Although the ink had dried, it was still possible to tell this was a painting made only recently. It was still too early to draw conclusions, but Tu Lan was rather mysterious. Touching her jade pendant, Xie also had a bold thought, trading one's life to bring the dead back to life. Kuan Yu, are you the Empress of Tu Lan? In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At Zhaohua Palace, Kuan Yu kept putting food into Xie Ton's bowl. No peak eating. You're still growing, so eat more vegetables. Slow down. No one is going to snatch your food. Then she remembered that Xie Lin was nowhere to be seen today. That reminds me, why didn't Xie Lin come back with you today? Xie Ton, cheeks puffed up as he chewed a bun, answered through a full mouth. Xie Lin went to Lanyue Palace. I think third sister was in a bad mood. Kuan Yu let out an "oh." Come to think of it, among her 4 children, she had only gotten close to 2 of them. The 4th princess kept avoiding her and refused to meet her, while the 3rd princess had been highly favored because auspicious omens had appeared at her birth. But because her birth mother had died, she had been bullied by the former empress. Suddenly, Xie Ton understood as well. Tugging lightly at her sleeve, he wheedled, Mother Empress, I miss third sister too. Kuan Yu searched through her memories, and then recalled that some time ago, the Empress Dowager had taken the 3rd princess up the mountain to stay for a while. She must have returned by now. In that case, let's go visit Yuanjia. At the same time, in Lanyue Palace, the nanny and maids were huddled together crying. What do we do? If the Empress Dowager blames us, even 10 heads won't be enough to save us. Xie Lin happened to arrive just then and volunteered. Let me try. The whole group, as if grasping a life-saving straw, immediately shoved the task onto him. 6th Prince, you're here. Please hurry and persuade 3rd Princess. Inside the room, Xie Yuanjia was sitting in a corner, sobbing softly. 3rd sister. Xie Lin smiled and reached out a hand to her. Why are you unhappy, 3rd sister? Tell me. Yuanjia turned around with tearful eyes. The moment Xie Yuanjia saw him, she burst into even louder tears, catching Xie Lin completely off guard. 3rd sister, sorry. Xie Lin shook his head at once. I'm fine. But inside, he was hurting terribly, pretending only he was very much not fine. Still, he forced himself to endure the pain and gently asked, Why are you crying so hard as soon as you came back, 3rd sister? If Mother Empress finds out, she'll think you were unhappy while living on the mountain with grandmother. Yuanjia sniffled and complained, It's not that I want to cry, but every time I think about it. Xie Lin was very good at comforting people. He even took out a handkerchief to soothe her. 3rd sister loves beauty so much. What if someone sees you like this, with tears and snot all over your face? At last, Yuanjia stopped crying. Teach, then I won't cry anymore. Outside, everyone watching let out a sigh of relief. Only the 6th prince can handle it. That's right. After a while, Xie Yuanjia had gone from sobbing to chattering non-stop with her little mouth. It was so fun outside. Riding horses was amazing. Xie Lin was teased into smiling until his eyes curved shut. When I get the chance, I'll take you with me. I don't know when this body of mine will ever recover. Tell me more about what it was like outside. Just then, Kuan Yu arrived. She spoke softly. It seems I've come at the wrong time. Yuanjia instantly wiped away her smile, her whole face turning bright red in panic. Mother Empress, why have you come here? Oh no, Mother Empress must have seen her just now with her arms slung around Xiaolin. Her image in Mother Empress's eyes had dropped again. Seeing Kuang Yu, Xiaolin at once rose respectfully and greeted her. Greetings, Mother Empress. Yuanjia tugged on Xiaolin's hand to warn him, but he failed to understand and shouted, I didn't tell Mother Empress that you cried until your face was a mess. Realizing her plan had failed and that he had exposed her on the spot, Yuanjia cried out, You just said it. Behind them, Xiaotong came panting as he chased after them. Mother Empress, why didn't you wait for me? Kange Olake Bradley. I told you that you should exercise more normally. From now on, I'll personally supervise your training. Xiaotong stood in the doorway, looking miserable. Please don't say that. Then he suddenly caught sight of a little girl's face peeking out from behind his mother's robes. Xiaotong recognized her immediately. Third sister, I missed you so much. Grandmother didn't take me along up the mountain with her. Yuanjia's eyes welled with tears again, making Xiaotong anxiously ask, Why are you crying again? Did I say something wrong? There was a reason his illness never seemed to get better. Standing at the side, Xiaolin could only sigh in exasperation. Kuang Yu also joined in on the children's matter, crouching down with her chin in her hand and asking with concern, What happened? Can you tell Mother Empress? Xie Yuanjia sadly recounted the whole story. It's all that little stable boy's fault. Why doesn't he like me? I gave him everything, and he still wouldn't play with me. Xiaolin and Xiaotong had no idea how to comfort her, but Kuang Yu rested her chin on her hand and thought it over seriously. Could it be that you said something inappropriate to him? Yuanjia stopped crying and tried to remember. I think I said a few things. I ordered him to stay by my side. Kuang Yu immediately grasped the cause. Then that's it. If you want to be friends, the two of you have to be equals. You didn't even ask whether he wanted to, and you were already forcing him. Hearing those words, Yuanjia was still unwilling to accept at first. But I'm the most favored one. There's nothing of mine I wouldn't give him, and he still refused. Kuang Yu laughed at the child's temper and teased her gently. That won't do. For example, if Mother Empress also relied on my status to force you to do this, and that, say, I told you were not allowed to be friends with him anymore, would you accept that? The little girl immediately shouted, Of course not. Kuang Yu smiled and nodded. Exactly. So that's why. Only then did the girl vaguely realize that she had been in the wrong. Your daughter understands now. Watching how she treated third sister, both boys had the same thought at once. Mother Empress is so gentle. Will she always be like this? In the imperial study, after receiving the memorial, Xie Yi flew into a rage. That Zhang Han has quite the nerve to dare do such a thing right under my nose. Lin Tuki sighed and continued. I have also gathered some information. The remnants of the TUC Lan faction are stirring again. I do not know whether it has anything to do with the person currently imprisoned. Xie Yi stared ahead angrily, deep in thought. Back then, he had had no way to completely eliminate the people who wanted to harm her, and now they were crawling back out of the ashes. Lin Tuki then raised another key point. I also discovered that Zhang Han stole the Spring Mountain painting because he wanted to curry favor with the current ruler of TUC Lan, Wei Zhen. Moreover, Wei Zhen has already left TUC Lan. It is not yet clear when he will arrive in the capital of Great Wei. Xie Yi's face darkened when he thought of the enemy drawing near his homeland. Wei Zhen. Late at night, in the imperial prison, the guards recognized the emperor and respectfully bowed. Greetings, your majesty. He ordered, Open the door. Yes. Inside the damp chamber, only a dim lamp flickered. The lead guard, holding a ring of keys, hesitated before suggesting, Your Majesty, it's filthy inside. If there's a prisoner you wish to see, just tell this subordinate, and I will have him brought to the torture chamber for Your Majesty to interrogate. Xie Yi's expression remained cold as he gave the order below. No need. Bring all the torture instruments here for me. He walked into the interrogation room alone. The subordinates stood at one side, peeking in and muttering among themselves, not daring to show their faces. Those prisoners must truly have committed monstrous crimes. Otherwise, His Majesty would not be taking action personally. As long as they don't die, it's fine. After some time, he emerged looking refreshed. The rest is up to you. Yes. At the Zhang residence, the sound of pacing footsteps went back and forth with mounting anxiety. Zhang Han frowned and asked his subordinate, Well, have you found Zhang Hao yet? Ever since I sent Zhang Hao into the palace to steal the Spring Mountain painting, not only has the painting not returned, but the man himself has disappeared as well. The person beside him shook his head wearily. Zhang Han immediately snapped and gave an order. Deal with everyone connected to Zhang Hao for me. Under no circumstances can anyone learn that Zhang Hao is a man from my household. After his subordinate left, he anxiously pinched his fingers together. If he has fallen into Lin Tuki's hands, then even if he dies, they will still be able to trace him back to me when that time comes. Yet Zhang Han was not willing to surrender so easily and stubbornly searched for a way out. No, I must ensure my own safety. He quickly went out to seek help. Lord Yi, when will our plan begin? Yi Mingbai took a sip of hot tea and slowly replied, the ruler of TUC Lan will arrive in the capital tomorrow. Our master hopes that you will go receive him. If this succeeds, it may be counted as your chance to atone for your crimes. On the surface, Zhang Han bowed and obeyed. Yes, I understand. But inwardly, he struggled to suppress his anger. If you were not that man's dog, why would I have to bow and scrape before a green brat like you? At that moment, Yi Mingbai looked back at the Minister of Revenue with a calculating gaze. Perhaps TUC Lan, too, would not be content to remain a vassal state of Great Wei. If we can pull Wei Zhan over to our side, it would only benefit our plan. You are absolutely right, my lord. Yi Mingbai turned back, poured himself another fresh cup of tea, and leisurely reminded him. As for this matter, our master already knows about it, but is not angry. He wishes to give you a chance. You must know enough to seize it. Otherwise, our master also has ways of dealing with useless people. Frightened of being eliminated, Zhang Han trembled as he made all sorts of assurances. Rest assured, Lord Yi, I will certainly do everything in my power. It's just that right now, we don't have anything that interests Wei Zhan. It's quite possible he won't even agree to meet us. Yi Mingbai cast a slight glance behind him and replied, just make the appointment first. I have my own way. At Chu Hoa courtyard, Xia Yi clenched the jade pendant in his hand, his heart full of thoughts. Have you forgotten that back then, the Empress and Wei Zhan sent more than 300,000 of your troops flying? They even laughed at you together. Xia Yi, you've fallen far too deep. Wei Zhan would arrive tomorrow. Didn't the two of them look very alike? Thinking of this, he let out a soft sigh. What's wrong with me? These past few days, I've been thinking of her more and more often. His heart tangled like a knotted thread. In the past, all he had ever felt toward the people of Zhaohua Palace was disgust. But the more he paid attention, the less he could tell things apart. After taking only half a step away, Xie Yi resolutely turned around and returned to the palace. I can't go on like this. Inside Zhaohua Palace, a cry rang out. Run, don't. Kuang Yu was trapped in a terrifying dream that clung to her. Just as the ghost was about to catch her, the ground suddenly split apart, and she fell down helplessly with it. Only then did Kuang Yu wake from the nightmare, to find Xietone and Miss Lan Tui beside her bed. Mother Empress, you're awake. Your son has been calling you for ages. She sat up, still shaken. So it was only a dream. Dear heavens, that scared me to death. The child's chirping voice rang by her ear. Mother Empress, hurry and get up. Today, I don't have to go to the Imperial Academy. I heard they just released a herd of antelope at the hunting grounds. Kuang Yu got out of bed, muttering this early. Lan Tui respectfully reported, it is currently Mao hour, Your Majesty. Xietone was so excited that he kept tugging at her hand. Mother Empress, will you take me out to play? The autumn hunt is almost here, and your son wants to. Dizzy from his chatter, Kuang Yu finally had no choice but to agree. All right, I got it. If you keep talking, I'll cover your mouth myself. Xietone clapped happily and praised her. Mother Empress is the best. But their first stop turned out to be the stables. Why aren't we going straight to the hunting field, Mother Empress? How can we go to the hunting field without getting a horse first? Kuang Yu repeatedly reminded him. And one more thing. For your own safety, once we arrive at the grounds, you are not to leave Commander Lin's sight, understand? Whatever Mother Empress says is right. From afar, Fu Shiru spoke up jealously. I was wondering who had such elegant leisure today. So, it's Her Majesty the Empress. The moment she saw the woman, Kuang Yu frowned and immediately shot back. You say I have elegant leisure? Then Your Majesty and Lady Fu don't seem any less so. Inwardly, she also blamed Xie Yi. What is wrong with that man? Will he die if he opens his mouth and says something? But rules were rules in the end, so Kuang Yu lightly lifted her hand in salute. Greetings, Your Majesty. She had finally managed to make time to take the child out, only to have it interrupted by them. Seeing that he said nothing and merely stared at her, Kuang Yu shifted uncomfortably and reminded him, Your Majesty? Xie Yi coughed awkwardly a few times before explaining. Xiener said he wanted a horse, so I came to help him choose choose one. Are you explaining yourself to me, or what? Lowering his eyes, he glanced at Sieton and suggested, since the Empress has come to the stables today, are you here to pick a horse? Do you need me to help you choose? Standing behind him, Shuru bit her handkerchief in anger. Did His Majesty take the wrong medicine today? Didn't he used to hate the Empress most of all? Why is he so enthusiastic now? But Kuan Yu had her own calculations as well. Of course she did not trust him. What scheme is he plotting this time? Still, with so many people present, refusing him outright would not look good either. When she saw Sieton threatened by a crazed horse, Kuan Yu immediately rushed forward without caring for her own life. Your Majesty, it's dangerous. Don't come over here. Siet-yi at once charged forward to subdue the horse. Mother Empress, save me. After that, he turned and led the horse back to the stable. Only when he dismounted did he remember to check on the child. Sieton. When Siet-yi turned back, he froze slightly. Kuan Yu had already appeared and was comforting the boy in her arms. Sieton, don't be afraid. Mother Empress is here. It's all right now. Are you stupid? Why didn't you run? Seeing this scene, he could not help being stunned. Kuan Yu, she suddenly turned on him in anger and rebuked him. Look at how badly Sieton was frightened. As his father, can't you pay a little more attention? It was the first time he had ever seen Kuan Yu like this, and the Emperor did not know what expression he should wear. Only after a few seconds did he come to himself and awkwardly apologize. I didn't notice. I am sorry. Kuan Yu herself finally regained her senses, and she too looked startled. Just then Fu Shiru came over and pointed straight at Kuan Yu as she accused her. Your Majesty the Empress, what do you mean by this? His Majesty was almost hurt, and yet you're standing there blaming someone else? She hated Kuan Yu from the bottom of her heart. Your precious crown prince only got a bump on the head, while my son was frightened too, and I'm not making a fuss over it. She even loudly berated Kuan Yu. You really are something, Empress, daring to blame His Majesty of all people. You truly never know your place. Not about to let Fu Shiru bully her, Kuan Yu put on the authority of the Empress and snapped, shut your mouth. I am speaking with His Majesty. Since when is it your turn to speak? You. Seeing this, Shiru immediately turned teary-eyed and whined to him. Your Majesty, look at the Empress. She's being so fierce to your concubine. But Siet-yi looked irritated instead and flung her hand aside. Enough. That's enough noise. She has every right to scold me. I failed to take good care of Sieton. I failed to take good care of my imperial elder brother's child. Feeling wronged, Shiru could only go along with it. Then this concubine won't speak of it again in the future. At that moment, Lin Tuki hurried over at last. This subject was late in coming to Your Majesty's aid. I begged the Emperor and Empress to punish me. Siet-yi waved a hand and ordered a full investigation. Go investigate what happened today at once. Zhuefeng has always been obedient. There is no way it would behave as it did today. You must get to the bottom of this for the Crown Prince and the Empress. Yes, this subject obeys. He then turned and said to Kuan Yu, Your Majesty the Empress, since something like this happened so suddenly, perhaps you and His Highness the Crown Prince should go hunting another day. She shook her head in reply. General Lin, just do the investigation. You need not worry about anything else. Sieton lightly wiped away his tears and said loudly, Mother Empress, I'm fine. Father Emperor already dealt with the horse. Your son is perfectly fine. Can we still go hunting on the back mountain? Kuan Yu brightened at once and directly picked the child up into her arms, nodding. Good. That's how a real boy should be. If you say you'll go, then you go. Watching the two of them leave, Shiru shyly asked him, Your Majesty, the Empress went too far. Why aren't you angry at all? She even spoke to you like that just now. Even this concubine was angry on your behalf. But in his eyes, there was only Kuan Yu's figure everywhere, until Shiru called out to him for the third time. Your Majesty? Siet-yi paid her no mind, only glancing at Siet-li as he casually gave a few instructions. Lear was frightened too, just now, wasn't he? Let today's matter rest. I still have official business to handle and can't accompany the two of you any longer. After that, he left without another thought for them. Shiweru was so angry she could hardly swallow her resentment. Once, then twice. He keeps refusing to put me in his eyes. But one day, at that moment, Lon Exine whispered in her ear, It looks like they're about to go. Then let's. Shiweru's lips curved into a crafty smile. In the forest behind the mountain, atop a horse, Sieton drew his bow and proudly showed her. Watch closely, Mother Empress. Your son will show you what I can do. I've practiced around here many times. Just as his arrow flew out, another arrow shot in and knocked Siet Tone's arrow aside, directly snatching the deer. Standing nearby, Lan Tui immediately shouted, "Who dares steal prey from our crown prince?" It was Xieli and Fu Shiru again, always appearing to contend with Kuang Yu. If Imperial Brother didn't aim properly, then don't blame this prince for getting there first, Xieli said. Mother Consort, look, your son brought it down with a single arrow. Having done the deed, Xieli beamed proudly at her. Am I impressive or not? She immediately fanned the flames. Not bad. Much better than someone who only knows how to eat all day. The moment Sietone heard that, he knew they were talking about him, and deep sadness welled up in him. I'm not someone who only knows how to eat. Kuan Yu only cast a faint glance over before praising in return. Prince Yin truly is impressive. Not only is his archery excellent, he's also very skilled at stealing other people's chances. What rotten luck. Sietone's eyes brimmed with tears again. Mother Empress, am I really useless? If I had aimed just a little better, maybe Xieli wouldn't have been able to snatch it from me. She shook her head and lightly joked to stop him from crying. It's all right. Mother Empress is here. Little Chubby, you can practice for as long as you want. Practice until you become Great Way's #1 archer. In Kuang Yu's arms, Sietone cheered happily. All right, Mother Empress is the best. Your son will shoot a fox and make a fur cloak for Mother Empress. And then, watching their figures leave, Fu Shiru burned with resentment inside. What noble pretense is she putting on? Sooner or later, that position of crown prince will belong to our mother and son. After dinner, camping outside the forest was also rather pleasant. The moment he finished eating, Sietone ran out of the tent to show off. Mother Empress, look, fireflies. Lan Tui chased after him until she was almost out of breath. Your Highness the Crown Prince, slow down. You've just eaten. Don't run so fast. Standing behind them, Kuang Yu watched the child's every movement and softly sighed. When I first came here and entered this body, I only felt that I had to increase my favorability with these children in order to secure my own position. But before she realized it, every time Sietone accomplished something, she was the first person he wanted to show. Mother Empress, come quickly and look. I caught one. It's beautiful. Somewhere along the way, she had unknowingly come to cherish them, and she happily spread her arms to welcome him. Come here, chattering away again. What do I usually teach you? The next day, they rested at a pavilion within the hunting grounds. Kuang Yu leisurely lifted her tea and drank, but deep down, she was seething. There's so many places to sit, yet she just has to come sit next to me. Fu Shiru brought up yesterday's matter again. Your Majesty the Empress, tell me, why would the Crown Prince fail to think things through and agree to Lier's challenge? After getting his prey stolen yesterday, he should have known his own limits. She replied with a faint smile. It is only a contest between brothers. As long as nothing serious happens, let them be. Inwardly, she screamed in fury. If it weren't for your precious son deliberately provoking him, would little Chubby have agreed to that challenge? Then a guard's voice sounded from inside. Something's wrong. Could it be something had happened? They rushed in to report. Your Majesty the Empress, something terrible has happened. The Crown Prince. The Crown Prince is gone. What did you say? The horses of His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness Prince Xian were both frightened by a pack of wolves. His Highness Prince Xian managed to calm and control his horse, but His Highness the Crown Prince. Furious, Kuang Yu seized the patrolling guard and demanded an explanation. Speak clearly. Where exactly did the Crown Prince disappear? Take me there at once. Quickly, Fu Shiru also grew flustered with worry. The Crown Prince is missing? Then what about Xieli? Where is Xieli? The guard beside her softly reassured her. His Highness Prince Xian is fine. He is currently. Before leaving, Kuang Yu ordered a maid to return to the palace. Lan Tui, go back to the palace and report this. Tell Lin Tuki to send the Imperial Guards here to rescue them. After saying that, she led a group of patrol guards deep into the forest. Your Majesty the Empress, it was just ahead. Kuang Yu shouted, spread out and search the area. The rest of you follow me to find the Crown Prince. If anything happens to the Crown Prince, not one of you will keep your miserable lives. Yes, Kuang Yu gritted her teeth and spurred her horse forward. By nightfall, she unfortunately became lost as well. Kuang Yu had long since become exhausted, yet she kept blindly pressing on in search of little Chubby. It seems I've lost the others. Where on earth is this place? The darker it got, the harder it became to search. Ahead of her was a horse that had already been killed. She jumped down to inspect it. No matter how hungry they were, surely they wouldn't have eaten their own horse. Now isn't the time to think about that. I have to find him first. But unfortunately, Kuang Yu slipped. In an instant, she tumbled down a cliff without a trace. Back at the palace, having just received the bad news, he personally set out. The entire Imperial Guard followed him to the hunting grounds to search for them. You must find the crown prince for me. Yes, your majesty. At dusk, the palace maid were taking turns carrying water into the tent. Cieli cried as he told Fu Shiru, I shouldn't have let Xieton run so deep into the forest. If we hadn't gone in so far, we wouldn't have disturbed the wolves there. At the thought of being blamed by Father Emperor, she sneered and instructed her son, of course not. It was the crown prince who stubbornly split off on his own. If you hadn't gone back to report it, no one would have known. A child like Xie Li had ultimately been ruined by Shiru. Even though Mother Consort said so, still, in the future, I still want to become emperor. Xieton is the one blocking my path to the throne. Only if he dies will no one stand in my way anymore. Very quickly, the boy steadied himself and agreed with her. Mother Consort is absolutely right. Shiweru smiled and took her son by the hand. That's more like my good son. Come, hurry and go wash up quickly, or it'll be too late. At the foot of the cliff, her body was covered in scratches. Kuang Yu sat up, clutching her aching head and thinking to herself, luckily those branches broke my fall. If I'd really fallen from that height, I might already be dead. In the distance, there was the figure of a small child. Little Chubby? Dragging her battered body forward, she made her way toward the child. It really was Xieton. It truly was little Chubby. Seeing the boy's injury, she could not help but worry. His face was pale, his lips purplish, and there was even this large wound. Kuang Yu looked at the desolate wilderness all around them. Where nearby could she possibly find antidote for snake venom? But she still forced herself to suck the poison from Xieton's body. Though she did not know whether it would help, at least the tainted blood had been drawn out. That should keep the snake venom from reaching his heart. Holding the boy in her arms, Kuang Yu murmured, Little Chubby, if you don't eat, you only meet with misfortune and fall sick all over. I wonder whether they'll be able to find us here. Once night falls, the wolves will come out looking for food. But after only a few steps, she and Xieton collapsed to the ground and fainted. Anyone, please save us. Inside her drifting consciousness, a voice echoed by her ear. Kahangeu. Vaguely, she murmured in reply, Here. Someone found us. Am I hearing things? Guards had reached the cliff and were calling her name. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Your Majesty the Empress. But they did not shine their lights below, and her voice was so weak that they could not hear her at all. Here. Over here. Here. Your Majesty the Empress. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Watching them leave, an unpleasant feeling rose in Kuang Yu's heart. Damn it, we're down here. Great Way really is full of incompetence. Just wait until I get back to TUC Lawn. I definitely will. But just as her hand fell in despair, someone reached out and caught hold of it. Kahangeu. Xie helped her up, gathering her and the child into his arms as he soothed her. I'm here. I found you. Kuang Yu's eyes glistened. Was it really him calling my name just now? Inside the Crown Prince's chamber, Xie sat by the bed and sighed as he asked the Imperial physician, Why hasn't the Crown Prince awakened yet, even after taking the medicine? The physician answered in a fluster, heavy with worry. This subject has also never encountered such a case before and dares not make any rash conclusions. I fear it may take several more days. He ground his teeth in displeasure. If you fail to cure him, I'll hold you accountable. What about the Empress? At that moment, the eunuch standing beside him reported, After taking her medicine last night, Her Majesty the Empress went to sleep. She is likely awakened by now. Just then, the guard outside came rushing in with an urgent report. Your Majesty. He stepped inside and said a few words. After hearing them, Xie could no longer remain calm and shouted, What? Then he swept his sleeve and left the palace with his attendants. If anything happens to the Crown Prince, report to me at once. Understood. The Imperial physician was grinding medicine with all his might, preparing to present it to the Crown Prince, when Kuang Yu appeared at the doorway, supported by Lan Tui. When will the Crown Prince wake up? Where's His Majesty? The Imperial physician, standing at the side, and explained, I have already neutralized all the poison in the Crown Prince's body. His Highness has fallen into delirium because of excessive shock. If the crown prince is to awaken, he must rely on his own will. Lan Tui gently draped a cloak over Kuang Yu's shoulders. Your Majesty, please don't worry too much. You've only just recovered yourself. I heard His Majesty has gone to deal with an important matter. He had to go. Please don't overthink it and make yourself ill again. She immediately raised a hand to refuse. No need. I'm Yufina. Kuang Yu sat down beside Xietone, full of worry, recalling how terrified the little chubby boy had looked back then. She had no idea when he would wake up, nor how many more days his body could endure. Is there really no other way? At that moment, Xie Lin hovered at the doorway and asked softly, Mother, how is Imperial brother? She glanced over and replied with a sigh, I don't know what happened that day, but your brother would rather stay unconscious and trapped in nightmares than wake up. Xie Lin stood before Xietone for a while, deep in thought. Xietone, you idiot. If you wake up, I promise I'll bully you less from now on. Otherwise, I won't play with you ever again. Kuang Yu remained deeply worried. That day, the little chubby boy had probably thrown himself off the cliff because he was so frightened of being eaten by wolves. He must have been terrified then. Suddenly, a bold thought flashed through Kuang Yu's mind. Wait, thinking about it carefully, something about this was strange. If the little chubby boy had truly run into wolves, that was one thing. But if they had been led there, then someone was pulling the strings behind this, and she would make them repay 100-fold the pain the little chubby boy had suffered. By dusk, Kuang Yu left the crown prince's chamber and returned. Your Majesty, you must take care of your health. If you fall ill too, then that's right. If you're not hungry, I am. I've been talking all day. Aren't you annoyed yet? Walking beside her, Xie Lin chattered on and on. Today, I want crispy candied walnuts. And also, Kuang Yu sternly scolded him. You can have sweets after you finish your meal, but no buts. From outside, a pair of eyes watched them leave. Once no one was around, the little girl slipped quietly into the room. Xietone, you dummy. It's only been a few days. How did you end up like this? Leaning on her cane, Xie Yuani walked over to the boy's bedside and poked him a few times. Stop sleeping already. If you keep sleeping, I'm going to eat all your favorite buns. But Xietone lay motionless, his face frighteningly pale and gray. The girl had also come fully prepared. Looks like Sister Xiao Tao was right. These are indeed the symptoms of delirium. Then she took out a black medicinal pill. I wonder if this thing can actually save him. She stuffed it straight into Xietone's mouth. This is a long-lost prescription, but my recreated version should be about 80 or 90% the same. I'll treat a dead horse as if it were alive. If I cure you, then from now on, your little life belongs to me. Then needles shot out one after another, and Xietone began trembling the next instant. It worked. At last, he opened his eyes hazily and looked at the person before him. Fourth sister, why are you here? The little girl grinned and pinched his cheek. I came to save you, dummy. After she was done, Yuani pulled the needles out of Xietone's body. The boy immediately fainted again, but that only made the girl more satisfied. Cheerfully, she packed up her things and headed back. That counts as a success. I need to go back and report to Sister Xiao Tao. This method can cure illness and neutralize poison. If anyone makes me unhappy, I'll poison them all to death. 1, 2, 3. Every last one of them will die, especially that person. Xie Yuani's face was filled with hatred toward Kuang Yu. Ever since the assassination attempt had been discovered by the Empress, she had never forgotten the change in the Empress's expression at that moment. A woman that domineering would never forgive the child of a servant who had betrayed her. The girl had also noticed Kuang Yu's change. That was not the former Empress's style at all, unless the current Empress was no longer the same Empress as before. But the very next second, she put the matter out of her mind, because something far more important was at hand. No, don't overthink it. Escaping is more important. I can't let anyone find out I can walk on my own. At the women's medical hall, Sister Xiao Tao, I'm back. That night, the imperial physician came again to take the boy's pulse. Even he had to admit, this is strange. Far too strange. Kuang Yu joyfully carried over a plate piled high with buns. It's good that the crown prince has woken up. Come, little chubby one, you must be hungry, right? Mother will go prepare your favorite meat buns. The moment he recovered, however, his very first sentence left everyone stunned. Mother, where is fourth sister? Kuang Yu frowned slightly and asked, the fourth princess? She came here. Xietone looked a little confused. I think so. Did she save me? But when he glanced at Kuang Yu, he suddenly seemed strangely dependent on her and unwilling to say more. Mother, I'm tired. I want to rest. She agreed without objection, and turned to leave. All right, mother understands. Eat first, then rest. Whatever it is, we can talk about it tomorrow. Sieton sat blankly on the bed, thinking, is mother angry? After she left, he clutched the blanket tightly and asked in a tiny voice, Nanny, last time you said mother killed noble consort Lon. Was that true? The nanny was startled and dropped to her knees, pleading, Your Highness, please don't speak carelessly. If Her Majesty the Empress hears those words, this old servant won't be able to keep her life. She lowered her head, her heart feeling as if it were being cut by knives. The Crown Prince had never cared about such matters before. Why was he suddenly asking now? Could something have happened? Why had he suddenly begun to suspect Her Majesty the Empress? She raised her head and asked him, Your Highness, did something happen? Why are you doubting Her Majesty the Empress? Sieton shook his head, sounding dazed. I'm not sure either. It feels like you said something before. And are those dreams too? Nanny, just tell me everything. If the Empress really did kill my birth mother, then I will never forgive the enemy who murdered my mother. Tearfully, the nanny stepped forward and gripped the boy's hand tightly. Your Highness truly has grown up. I can tell you, but you must remain calm. Do not recklessly go confront Her Majesty the Empress. You must conserve your strength first. When the time is ripe, then you can seek revenge on Her Majesty the Empress. Sieton nodded in agreement. All right, this Crown Prince absolutely will not act impulsively. Nanny began recalling the horrifying memories of that year. Back then, noble consort Lon and His Majesty were deeply in love as husband and wife. Not long after, she became pregnant with a dragon heir. After giving birth, because it was the eldest son, the Empress insisted on taking him away, which caused noble consort Lon to fall gravely ill. After that, noble consort Lon spent nearly every day washing her face with tears, and cries of sorrow came from her palace every night. That continued until the matter reached Zhaohua Palace. Afterward, it all stopped. From then on, people in the palace all spread the rumor that the Empress had killed her to silence her. After finishing, Nanny still warned him to be careful. Your Highness, no one in the palace truly knows whether it was real or not. You must not believe it too easily. Whatever you do, do not confront the Empress. On the surface, he smiled at her to reassure her. Don't worry, Nanny. My body is so weak right now. I won't do anything foolish. After tending to him for a while, she finally got up and excused herself. Since Your Highness can think that way, I'm relieved. Then I won't have failed noble consort Lon. Your Highness, please rest some more. This old servant will take her leave first. The moment the chamber door closed, Sieton returned to his true self. His eyes turned cold as he stared after her. On the surface, Nanny Lee had been stopping him from turning against Her Majesty the Empress, but every single word she said had been pushing him to break with Mother. He truly could not understand what was really going on. In the flower garden outside the Crown Prince's quarters, Nanny Lee accepted the banknotes and still kept muttering, You're too careless in how you do things. If someone finds out, Lon Xin sneered coldly. Would such a small matter really trouble Nanny Lee? Then her mistress asked, How is the sowing of discord progressing? Nanny Lee nodded and continued. The Crown Prince is already suspicious. In a few days at most, mother and son will turn against each other. At that time, the woman smiled and nodded. Good. When that time comes, your contribution will certainly not be forgotten. The next morning, in the imperial study, a locust disaster in Wuzhou City had caused refugees to pour continuously into the capital. It had not been just 1 or 2 days. But opening the grain stores hasn't helped either. The grain has already been distributed, yet many victims still haven't received any. They're about to start causing trouble again. The ministers all looked miserable, unsure what to propose. Upon the dragon throne above, Xie Yi rebuked them harshly. The Mid-Autumn Festival is almost here. Envoys from the various states will soon bring tribute into the capital. If they see lines of refugees outside the city gates, I fear it will greatly damage the nation's standing and security. Standing at the side, Lin Tuki reported softly, I have investigated. The people lining up to receive grain are all ordinary subjects. With free food available, who wouldn't want some? If this continues, there will only be more and more so-called victims. An official let out a long sigh. No one even knows who the real victims are anymore. If this isn't settled quickly, things will only grow more chaotic. And once that happens, it will be even harder to end it. Then do any of you have a solution? Everyone looked at one another anxiously. Well, this, frowning. He could only propose a harsher method. Fine. If no one comes up with a solution in 2 more days, then send out the troops and suppress them. But, Your Majesty, if we do that, he would not allow anyone to argue further. He flicked his sleeve and dismissed them. I've made my decision. You're all dismissed. Once only his 2 trusted men remained in the room, Lin Tuki suggested, Boss, let me tell you something. Wei Zhen has entered the courier station in the capital under the identity of an envoy from the state of Sulan. Do you want to visit an old friend? Xie answered with a calm expression, though only Lin Tuki understood him. Oh, obviously you want to go so badly you're dying, and you're still pretending. If it weren't for this locust plague, wait. Lin Tuki gritted his teeth in frustration and replied, What now, Your Majesty? This general is very busy right now. If you have something to say it. He shot him a displeased look. How far has the investigation into the Crown Prince's incident gotten? At the mention of this, Lin Tuki's expression turned grave as he reported, There truly is a wolf pack living near the hunting grounds, but they would not attack for no reason. The problem may be with the horse. The imperial physicians examined the horse's carcass and discovered it had eaten a kind of grass whose scent can drive wolves into a frenzy. That may be why the wolves attacked the horse and His Highness the Crown Prince. Lin Tuki continued, As for the venomous snake that bit His Highness, there are indeed poisonous snakes in the western regions, but they are very hard to come across in the direction of Great Way. These things may seem accidental, but someone arranged them all, and their target was His Highness the Crown Prince. He clenched his hand in fury and ordered, Continue the investigation. No matter what it takes, find the person who dared plot against the Crown Prince. Understood. He stood still, deep in thought. Who exactly would dare to harm the Crown Prince? Why had Wei Zhen come to Great Way this time? Could these 2 matters be connected? Could it be that Wei Zhen had discovered what happened in the prison? But he also seemed to hate the person who had plotted to kill the Empress. He took out the jade bracelet again and stared at it intently. What exactly is your purpose, Wei Zhen? In the afternoon, at Great Way's cargo port, among the disguised Sulan delegation. Inside the port, a close attendant bowed deferentially before Wei Zhen and asked, Your Majesty, what should we do next? Before the imperial preceptor died, did he say clearly where the Empress was? The subordinate shook his head sorrowfully. No, the divination only pointed toward Great Way. Wei Zhen fell silent for a moment, thinking he did not know whether the imperial preceptor's divination had been true or false. But no matter what, it was the result obtained in exchange for his life. It was difficult not to believe it. Taking advantage of the Mid-Autumn Festival, whether she was reborn or reincarnated, I must find her in Great Way. Seeing his trembling arm, the subordinate said, Then this servant will withdraw and continue investigating. After that, we can make further plans. Wei Zhen waved his hand in agreement. Very well, go. Be careful not to arouse anyone's suspicion. Once he was alone in the tent, his thoughts deepened. This trip was not only to find the Empress's whereabouts, but also to find the Empress's token, the jade by disc, the object capable of hypnotizing and slaughtering millions of soldiers. Thinking of this, he downed his drink in one gulp. Sulan was merely a vassal state of Great Way. Furious, he smashed the cup to the ground. How can my state of Sulan possibly submit willingly? Lowering her head, the maid replied, Reporting to Your Majesty, this servant has found out a little. Kuan Yu gave a cold smile and instructed Lan Tui. Good. Then go and bring the Crown Prince here. And summon the servants from over there as well. I just happen to have nothing to do. So let's see who exactly is trying to drive a wedge between mother and son. Inside the main hall of Zhaohua Palace, Nanny Li had been summoned and was so frightened her face turned pale. Your Majesty, I'm innocent. I have served the Crown Prince for many years, faithfully and diligently. I beg Your Majesty to judge wisely. Your Majesty, please judge wisely. Sitting on the gilded couch, Kuan Yu glanced at the brazen liars below and snapped. Do you think I am so easily fooled? Do you think I summoned you here without reason? Truly, you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Lan Tui happened to return just then and stepped forward to whisper in her ear. Kuan Yu felt slightly annoyed. Why are you back so quickly? Can't you see I'm punishing them? Won't this expose my image as a vicious mother in front of the child? At that very moment, Xietone peeked out from behind the curtain and called softly, Mother? Mother, are you angry? The moment she saw him, Kuan Yu's tone turned sweet at once. How could Mother possibly be angry at you? Come, Mother has prepared the giant meat buns you love most. Xietong glanced down below in confusion. What is everyone doing? Why is Nanny Li here too? At that, Kuan Yu gave a cold smile. Mother's playing a game with them. Whoever refuses to tell the truth will be executed immediately. Terrified, Nanny Li crawled to Xietong's feet and pleaded, "Your Highness the Crown Prince." This frightened the boy as well. "Mother, what exactly did they do?" Following her mistress's gaze, Lan Tui brought over a brocade pouch. Kuan Yu soothed her son, occasionally pinching his cheek. "Don't rush. Just sit and watch, and you'll find out." Lan Tui stepped up in front of them and emptied out the embroidered pouch, spilling out a pile of items. "Her Majesty the Empress has already investigated it. It was you people who stole these things and used witchcraft. For that crime, you must be sentenced to death." All the palace servants turned deathly pale, cold sweat pouring down their faces. "We've been wronged, Your Majesty the Empress. We've been wronged. This servant, this slave truly didn't do it." Xietong was stunned and frightened. Why were those things in his palace? His name was even written on them. "Mother Empress." Thinking of that, he started crying in grievance. "Is it because I'm fat and stupid, so everyone in the palace dislikes me?" She gently teased him to comfort him. "Now then, don't let your mind run wild. Mother Empress has a way to punish them." Nanny Li trembled as she desperately denied it. "Please investigate clearly, Your Majesty the Empress. Someone must have deliberately framed this servant. This servant has personally cared for His Highness the Crown Prince since he was little. This servant would never do anything to harm His Highness the Crown Prince. I've truly been wronged." But Kuan Yu did not want to hear any more of her nonsense. "You're making my ears ring. Enough with the chatter. Confess honestly, who ordered you to do this?" From afar came a shrill voice. "Why is it so lively here at Your Majesty the Empress's place?" Fu Shiweru appeared out of nowhere, as if she had come to watch a good show. "Isn't this Nanny Li, the one in charge of caring for His Highness the Crown Prince? What's happened here?" Nanny Li turned to look behind her. Fu Shiweru swept them a glance and walked forward brazenly. "Could it be that you've committed some monstrous crime, enough for Her Majesty the Empress to personally come discipline you? Another one here to get in the way." Growing impatient, Kuan Yu wanted to send her off. "Jiyu Fu, what a rare whim for you to come to my palace today. But I happen to be occupied at the moment, so I cannot receive you." But Fu Shiweru had no intention of leaving so quickly. "It's only that I suddenly remembered I haven't come to Zhaohua Palace in a long time to pay my respects to Your Majesty the Empress. So I brought a gift as an apology." She took out an item and presented it. "This is rare coral from the state of Sulan. His Majesty had it delivered today." So Fu Shiweru had brought it here today just to provoke her. "I remember Your Majesty the Empress mentioned it before, so I brought it for you to have a look." But Kuan Yu was not the least bit envious. "Is that so? It's not even red coral. It's only ordinary coral." Inwardly, she snorted in disdain. Rare coral from Sulan? The emperor treated this piece of junk like a treasure. Had Wei Zhen ever considered simply handing the state treasury over to her? Kuan Yu again put on an indifferent look and tried to see her out. "If you have nothing else to do, then I..." But Shiru paid no mind, had a chair brought in, and even asked for tea, intending to stay. "No matter. You go ahead with your business. We can prepare tea ourselves. No need for you to trouble yourself." No matter how she tried to drive her away, the woman would not leave. Kuan Yu could only give up. "Suit yourself." Turning back to the main matter, she shouted, "Nanny Li, do you have anything else to say? The evidence is conclusive now. Even if you want to deny your guilt, you can't." Nanny Li lowered her head, trembling, and said nothing. Her eyes darted briefly toward Fu Shiweru, but Fu Shiweru pretended nothing was wrong and coldly avoided that gaze. This servant, seeing that Nanny Li had no way left to deny it, Kuan Yu ordered, "Enough. Drag her away and have Commander Lin Tuki interrogate her on my behalf." "Yes." Fu Shiweru pretended to remain calm, but her whole body was trembling in fear. That wretched woman Kuan Yu, could she have found out something? The Ministry of Justice. "Lan Xin Sopti comfort her." "Your ladyship, don't worry. We still have the general's manor backing us." But Fu Shiweru shook her head in fear. "No, my father will never agree. Witchcraft is a grave taboo in the palace." Suddenly, a bold idea flashed through her mind. "I've got it. That Zhang Xin. Go contact him for me at once." Yes, inside Zhaohua Palace, just as Kuan Yu was about to get into bed, the eunuch's voice sounded from outside. "His Majesty has arrived." She jolted in surprise. Why'd he come so late? Could it be because he wanted her to attend him in bed? Before she could recover, He had already strode in. I came here as soon as court ended. I lost track of the time and disturbed the Empress. She frowned slightly and asked bluntly, "Has your Majesty come here to accuse me? Am I, as Empress, not even allowed to punish palace servants in the inner court?" Seeing Kuang Yu's coldness, Xie Yi hurried to explain, "That is not what I mean. I came to ask about the situation on the Crown Prince's side." But she raised a brow and looked at him as if she did not believe him. Being stared at like that made him a little uncomfortable. "Why is the Empress looking at me like that? Is there something on my face?" Kahenge suddenly smiled brightly. "It's nothing. I simply feel that your Majesty seems even more handsome than usual today." Xie Yi immediately became embarrassed, his face flushing red. "What nonsense!" In the end, they still turned to serious matters. Kuang Yu reported, "Lan Tui and Commander Lin Tuki have found the doll used to curse the Crown Prince." Hearing that, he frowned. "Witchcraft? This is the first time I've heard of it. Lin Tuki must punish the culprit severely." Kuang Yu stared at him in shock without blinking, making Xie Yi feel strangely self-conscious. What is it with the Empress now? Seeing how oddly restrained he looked, Kuang Yu found it rather amusing. His Majesty was acting so strange today, but he was kind of cute. In the end, Xie Yi coughed lightly as a reminder. "Empress," she pouted in complaint. "Honestly, right, this consort has something to ask your Majesty. Do you remember the Crown Prince's birth mother? Ji Froze. Honestly, right, this consort has something to ask your Majesty. Do you remember the Crown Prince's birth mother? Ji Froze. Noble Lady Lan." Kuang Yu nodded and continued, "Yes, her. First, there are rumors in the palace that a consort conspired to kill her and deliberately tried to drive a wedge between me and the Crown Prince. Second, the Crown Prince misses her very much. I hope your Majesty will grant it and let me go see her." Xie Yi did not refuse and agreed immediately. "Very well. I'll have someone escort the Empress there." The next day, outside the Cold Palace, he even assigned a squad of guards to follow them, escort the Empress, and protect her on the way to the Cold Palace. Ensure the safety of both Her Majesty and the Crown Prince. "Yes." Kuang Yu smiled and lightly chided Xietone, "You heartless little thing. Before, you suddenly started doubting who I was. But now that I'm taking you to meet your birth mother, you're this happy already? Look how pleased with yourself you are." Glancing back, she felt a little displeased. He still had not left. Why did she keep feeling that something about him had been strange lately? He was about to continue walking, but she spoke up to stop him. "The Cold Palace is not a good place. Your Majesty should go back." Watched by all those eyes, he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Looking at Great Wei, Kuang Yu still remained determined to return to her own homeland. Even though she knew he was a good man, she still could not bring herself to be warm with him. Sooner or later, she would be reborn back into her own era, and sooner or later Great Wei would come under attack. From inside came eerie, creaking sounds. "I'm the Empress of Great Wei. My son is the Crown Prince." The eunuch's announcement seemed to shatter the silence of this place. "Her Majesty the Empress has arrived." Two people collapsed to the ground and stared blankly toward the door. A madwoman suddenly lunged forward. Kuang Yu immediately pulled the child behind her. "My son." Guards dragged them away. "Where are the eunuchs?" Xietone, frightened, clung to Kuang Yu's leg and cried, "Mother Empress, they're so scary." She patted him soothingly in her arms. "Don't be afraid. Mother Empress is here." Eunuchin appeared and knelt to beg forgiveness. "This servant failed to receive your Majesty properly. Please punish me, your Majesty the Empress." "Eunuchin, where's Consort Lan?" Eunuchin lifted his head in shock and confusion. "You come to take Consort Lan away?" Lan Tui put her hands on her hips and scolded, "How dare you? Since when is it your place to question Her Majesty's business?" Hearing that, he quickly lowered his head and admitted fault. "Spare me, your Majesty the Empress. This servant deserves death. I know my mistake. Consort Lan is in the side hall." Inwardly, he sneered. So the rumors were true. This Empress really did have an unpredictable temper. Could it be that she had come here to torment Consort Lan? The farther in they went, the more desolate and barren it became. A strange noise sounded from inside the side hall. Unable to hold back, Xietone asked, "Is she dead?" Kuang Yu shook her head and explained, "Don't be afraid. That's your birth mother, Noble Lady Lan. Didn't you want to see her? Now you've seen her. What do you think?" But he did not dare take even one step forward, clinging to his Mother Empress and trembling. Mother Empress, your son is scared." Kuang Yu smiled lightly and pointed ahead. "Look, her chest is still rising and falling. How could she be dead?" Then she nudged Xietone forward. "Come, I'll take you closer. Suddenly, noble Lady Land's pitch-black eyes appeared. Who is it? Without my permission, who dares come near this place? Aunt Sun dropped to her knees. This servant is Aunt Sun, in charge of caring for noble Lady Lawn. Please spare me. This servant did not know your majesty the Empress had come. If I have committed any offense, I beg your majesty for mercy. Suddenly, the person on the bed coughed violently, startling all of them half to death. Noble Lady Lawn rushed out. Water. Andy, I want water. Aunt Sun sat up and pleaded. Your majesty the Empress, please allow this servant to attend to her first. She stepped forward and poured a bowl of water. Your ladyship must be thirsty. Just drink some water. At the sight of water, noble Lady Lawn lunged for it, as if to snatch it away. I want water. So thirsty. Even after draining a full bowl, noble Lady Lawn still did not stop. More. Help me, Annie. I want water. Aunt Sun looked worried. Is your ladyship really that thirsty? You still want more? Noble Lady Lawn shouted sternly at her. Water. Aunt Sun, I'm thirsty. Kuan Yu quickly noticed something strange as well. After drinking this water, her emotions became so unstable. But this Aunt Sun was clearly able to control her mistress, yet had remained here, serving her all this time. Was this what people called deep devotion between mistress and servant? She asked softly, what is wrong with noble Lady Lawn? Aunt Sun sighed. Your majesty may not know, but noble Lady Lawn is having an episode. Her condition is erratic. As for the deeper causes, this servant cannot conveniently speak of them. Kuan Yu rested her chin on her hand and thought. It had already been 5 years, and she still had not improved. It seemed her madness was quite severe. In this state, it was no wonder she could not recognize the little chubby boy. So this trip had been for nothing. She asked again. Then when is noble Lady Lawn lucid? But Aunt Sun shook her head and knelt down with difficulty. Replying to your majesty the Empress, this servant does not know either. Recently, the periods when your ladyship is clear-headed and able to recognize people have become fewer and fewer. Her coughing has also worsened. It seems she does not have much time left. Kuan Yu could only sigh and accept it. Very well then, hold her still. I have a few things I want to ask her. Aunt Sun went to the bedside and held one of noble Lady Land's arms. As you command, your majesty. Please ask. Kuan Yu pushed the child gently to the front and asked softly, noble Lady Lawn, do you know who this is? The child you carried for 10 months and gave birth to. Do you remember? But the more noble Lady Lawn looked at him, the more tears fell from her eyes. Sietone, the crown prince of Great Wei. It has already been 5 years. Don't you remember? Sietone, my son. Where's my son? At once, she began crying and making a scene. Your majesty, the Empress stole my son. I beg you, give him back to me. But Kuan Yu stepped in front of Sietone and sternly rebuked her. It has already been 5 years, noble Lady Lawn. Why is the first thing out of your mouth still slander against innocent people? Noble Lady Lawn cried and shouted, give my son back to me. I beg you. But Kuan Yu did not believe her for even a moment. Should I still trust you this time? Suddenly Sietone asked in confusion. Mother Empress, why don't you want me to get close to her? Kuan Yu sighed and explained. Silly child. Mother Empress is only afraid noble Lady Lawn will have another episode and hurt you. But Sietone patted his chest confidently. Your son isn't afraid. Mother Empress, let me go closer. But Kuan Yu is still worried and unwilling to agree. Many things are not as simple as you think. Sometimes, even what you hear with your own ears and see with your own eyes may not be real. Your son doesn't understand, but she gave birth to me. She shouldn't want to hurt me. Mother Empress, you're overthinking it. At that, a sour ache rose in Kuan Yu's heart. The former Empress had only wanted the position of the crown prince's mother, not to truly care for him. But now that he was in her hands, she had grown attached. Why was she feeling jealous now? In the end, she reluctantly agreed. Then go on. Before going over, Sietone still asked somewhat anxiously, Mother Empress, do you really want your son to go over there? If you want to go, then go. I won't stop you anymore. Kuan Yu quietly watched each step her son took. Blood ties truly were a wondrous thing. Mother and son had clearly never met before, and yet after only one meeting, they could not help wanting to be close. The moment noble Lady Lawn saw him, she could not stop crying. 5 years. You've grown this big already. Understanding the situation, Aunt Sun withdrew to the back. Your ladyship, this servant will step out first. If you need anything, call for me. Thank you for your trouble, Aunt Sunday. Thank you. Aunt Sun smiled lightly in reply. Your ladyship is too polite. You are this servant's benefactor. Helping you is only what I ought to do. She also lit another stick of incense. This fragrance could ease noble Lady Lan's coughing. Suddenly Kuang Yu went blank for a moment, making Aunt Sun suspicious. Your Majesty the Empress, what is it? Kuang Yu shook her head and said nothing. Maybe she was just overthinking it. In the imperial study, Tookie leaned against the wall in frustration. Boss, this state you're in won't do. Did something happen in the palace? Is it related to the Empress? Coming back to his senses, Xie asked, what were you just saying? Feeling utterly ignored, Tookie showed his displeasure plainly. Enough. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Tookie had keenly noticed that ever since the female sovereign of Sulan vanished, His Majesty had seemed absent-minded, as if he had lost his wife. He had once led troops to conquer Sulan, but after that he had wanted to withdraw from public life and live in the mountains. If not for his elder brother's sudden accidental death, he would most likely already have retired from court by now and stayed out of worldly affairs. Suddenly, Xie asked softly, what happened 5 years ago that noble Lady Lan was banished to the cold palace? Do you know? Tookie looked up at the sky, searching his memory. I think she eloped with someone. 5 years ago, he had suddenly received a secret order from the emperor, bring back the imperial consort who had run away. Only after they captured her did they discover that it was noble Lady Lan, who had only recently been granted the title of consort. And the man who had taken her out of the palace was also a guard from the imperial guard ranks, her childhood sweetheart. Noble Lady Lan's father was a power-hungry man, so he had sent his daughter into the palace. On one drunken occasion, the emperor favored her, and she became pregnant. After that, she was elevated to consort. But 10 months later, on the very day she gave birth, noble Lady Lan ran away with that guard. There were quite a few suspicious points in the whole affair. No wonder His Majesty had been so furious then. Tookie continued in detail. During the interrogation, that guard said that seeing noble Lady Lan living miserably in the palace, he pitied her, so he took her away. This made Xie frown and snap. Why are you only telling me something this important now? He chuckled. How could I possibly explain all of Your Majesty's elder brother's romantic debts? Doing that would be no different from courting death. Seeing danger approaching, Xie said, enough. Come with me to the cold palace at once, in case something happens. Meanwhile, in the cold palace, Kuang Yu was growing uneasy. Fragrance treatment? A cough? Could it be that Aunt Sun was deceiving herself? Why was she lying? Could Aunt Sun be trying to harm the Crown Prince and noble Lady Lan? No, I have to go in and see. She shoved the door open and rushed inside, only to see Xie in mortal danger. Let go of me. Mother Empress, save me. Without a thought for her own safety, Kuang Yu charged forward. What are you doing? Let go of the Crown Prince at once. She grabbed noble Lady Lan's hand and tried to pry it away. Let go of the child. Have you lost your mind? Xie is your son. How could you do this? Suddenly, Kuang Yu felt something was wrong. Sure enough, that smell could make a person suffocate. But this thing was far too strong. Her whole body went limp and she collapsed to the floor. In her haze, she realized it had all been an act. You did this on purpose? Have you only been pretending to be sick all these 5 years? Noble Lady Lan let out a cold laugh. So what if I have? Does that matter? Otherwise, Your Noble Majesty the Empress should think about it. How could I possibly let someone else raise my own son? It was the scent. But you, why are you fine? Noble Lady Lan sneered. Do you even need to ask? Of course I prepared an antidote. It's been 5 years. How could I not have made preparations? Kuang Yu quickly understood the hidden truth from the very beginning. It was that cup of water. Noble Lady Lan let out a savage laugh. For 5 years, every waking moment I've thought of revenge. At last, the chance has come. This time I won't show mercy. I won't let you stand in my way. Kuang Yu shouted angrily. You're despicable. Now noble Lady Lan was bent on killing Xie. You should have died 5 years ago. But when you were on the verge of death, the Empress discovered it. I had no choice but to feign illness and wait for the day I could take your life. Those days in the cold palace were hell. But it's all over now. You're about to go to hell. Take all your sins with you and die for me. Xie stood frozen. So the dream he had of his mother vanished just like that. So from the very beginning, you wanted to kill me. Kuang Yu forced herself to draw noble Lady Lan's attention back to her. If you have a grievance, take it out on me. Don't hurt the child. I won't listen to you anymore. You lied to me. Kuang Yu struggled to stay upright. Noble Lady Lan, you must not hurt him. He understands nothing. knows nothing. Let him go. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out. Outside, Lan Tui grew anxious. Something must have happened in there. But Aunt Sun grabbed her hand and pulled her away. Miss Lan Tui, could you help this old servant with something? Noble Lady Lan's condition is very serious. She has to take these medicines every day. Could you help me fetch these prescriptions from the Imperial Medical Bureau? Lan Tui did not know which way to go, but Aunt Sun tearfully persuaded her. Today is the day Noble Lady Lan gets to see His Highness the Crown Prince. I want to give her some sweet plums so the medicine won't leave such bitterness in her mouth. And Noble Lady Lan will never forget your kindness. Lan Tui was still more worried about Kuang Yu, but I heard something fall inside the room. Could it be that Her Majesty the Empress is displeased? Aunt Sun still replied slyly, "It's fine. This old servant will go in and take a look. As for the sweet plums, I'll be relying on you." Sieton had already been released, and Kuang Yu still forced herself to shield him. Think of your family. If you go through with this, there will be no turning back. You will regret it. Noble Lady Lan drew out a dagger and sneered. Regret? The thing I regret most in this life is entering the palace. Everything ends today. Go to hell. But Kuang Yu threw herself forward and blocked the strike with her arm. Noble Lady Lan laughed coldly. Your Majesty the Empress didn't expect the drug to last this long, did you? Impressive. This time, I was careless, Kuang Yu said through gritted teeth. If I survive this, your head is forfeit. Noble Lady Lan twisted the blade deeper into the bleeding wound. As expected of the proud Empress, even at death's door, you still talk tough. But you'll only be able to keep up that bravado for a few more minutes. Just as Noble Lady Lan charged again, Xie Yi arrived. Are you courting death? He kicked her flying to the side. How dare you poison the Empress and His Highness the Crown Prince inside the Imperial Palace? Are you tired of living? Your Majesty, Noble Lady Lan stammered. Lan Tui zu set over ansi oli. Your Majesty. Xie Yi hurriedly gathered Kuang Yu into his arms and asked, how is she? She clearly knows some martial arts. So how did she let herself be schemed against like this? But Kuang Yu did not accept the Emperor's help and pushed him away. I was drugged. Lan Tui, take me back. But your Majesty, you're hurt. She still reached out toward her personal maid, Lan Tui. But Xie lifted her directly into his arms without waiting for permission. Put me down. Ji scolded softly. Quiet, unless you want to lose the use of your arm. Inside Yangzhen Hall. Outside, Xie Yi interrogated the prisoners. I'm asking you, why did you want to kill someone? Lin Tuki stepped forward as well and prodded them. If you don't want to suffer, be honest. The man before you is His Majesty the Emperor. If you confess truthfully, His Majesty may still consider sparing your 9 clans. Noble Lady Lan refused to say a single word. I have nothing to say. Kill me or torture me as you please. But Aunt Sun was not the same. My lady, this servant must apologize to you. This concerns my entire family. She cried out, I'll talk. I'll tell everything. Tears brimmed in Noble Lady Lan's eyes as she looked at her. Aunt Sun, you and I have been mistress and servant for years. With all that affection between us, from this moment on, you owe me nothing. Then she looked at the child again. Your name is Sieton, isn't it? A bitter, self-mocking smile appeared on her lips. What I regret most is that I didn't strangle you before the Empress burst in and let you live until today. You are the stain of my life. With that, she poisoned herself and collapsed. In the next life, I hope you and I will have nothing to do with each other. Still in shock, Sieton burst into tears and clung to Kuang Yu. Mother Empress, did I do something wrong? Your Majesty, she bit her tongue. Kuang Yu truly could not understand it. For the sake of one man, she had betrayed her whole family and even tried to kill the child she herself had given birth to. Xie Yi waved a hand and ordered, take her away. Kuang Yu soothed the little boy. None of this is your fault. At Suilian Palace, your ladyship, the tea has gone cold. Fu Shiweru propped her chin on her hand and sighed. As expected, the old can never compare with the new. But didn't His Majesty loathe the Empress? Why has he suddenly changed like this? Her maid softly comforted her. This servant heard that Her Majesty the Empress was injured in the cold palace. Perhaps His Majesty was simply in a hurry at the time, so he didn't come to visit you. Please don't be upset anymore. Shiweru had heard the news as well. Furious, she knocked over a teacup. That bitch. The Empress actually dares use tricks to seduce His Majesty. Her maid said quietly, your ladyship, if this keeps up, we may end up just sitting here waiting to die. Why don't we tidy things up a little? Perhaps His Majesty will come tonight for your attendance. She snapped angrily. Tidy up for what? His Majesty will definitely stay in the Empress's palace tonight. She must be unbearably pleased with herself right now. Launching thought for a moment and suddenly came up with an idea. Your ladyship, last time His Majesty chose a fine horse for His Highness. If His Highness rides it every day, you could use the excuse of giving thanks to go there and rekindle your feelings. Why fear the Empress then? Only then did Fu Shiwaru recover her spirits. You're right. If His Majesty won't come here, then I'll take the initiative and go find him. Delighted, she immediately came up with a new plan. Men, after all, winning them over could be easy if one knew how. She promptly ordered her people to make arrangements. Go, tell the kitchen to prepare a nourishing soup. Once he drinks this bowl tonight, he'll belong to me alone. Kuang Yu slept so deeply that she murmured in her dreams, "No chubby little thing. That tickles." Beside her, Xie Yi was drowsy too, unable to tell dream from reality. "Xietone, you've gotten fatter." At that moment, she turned over, lightly grabbed Xie Yi's arm, and muttered reproachfully, "Behave yourself a little." Then the two of them held hands and slept soundly. Good boy. Outside, a palace maid was secretly peeking through the door crack. The Empress and His Majesty, actually. Could they be consummating the marriage? Lantui came over, puzzled. Xiao Xiao, what are you looking at? Has Her Majesty and the Crown Prince woken up? Startled, the girl hurriedly stopped Lantui. Don't go in. Lantui, Thao Wen in Gon Fu Xin. Why not? What time is it already? His Highness the Crown Prince should be heading to the Imperial Academy. But Xiao Xiao trembled and continued to plead, "Don't open the door, really. Whatever you do, don't open it." But suddenly, a loud noise came from inside, alarming both of them. Worried, Lantui pushed the door open and ran inside. "Your Majesty, Your Highness the Crown Prince." Inside, she found Xie Yi as well, sitting blankly on the floor. Holding his aching back, Xie Yi explained, "Empress, I just didn't want to disturb your rest, so I didn't call for you." Her face flushed slightly as she shouted, "Who gave you permission to climb into my bed and take advantage of me? Invardi, Kahenge Ukurst. Why is the male lead in this novel so shameless? So Your Majesty is actually this lustful. Instead of staying in your own palace, you came here just to take advantage of this consort." Meanwhile, four more curious eyes appeared at the doorway. Xie Yi barked, "Why haven't you called the imperial physician for me yet?" Yes. Just then, Xietone woke groggily. "Mother Empress, why is it so noisy so early in the morning?" Kuang Yu was afraid something would be exposed, so she quickly covered the child's eyes. "It's not early anymore. Don't you still have to go to the Imperial Academy? If you're late, Grand Tutor Li will punish you, and don't let this Empress be complained about." The child nodded obediently. At this point, Xie Yi stood up and coughed a few times as he explained, "Last night, I didn't see clearly. I thought this was a crown prince's bedchamber, so..." While helping the child get dressed, Kuang Yu continued to needle him. "If Your Majesty suddenly feels like finding a palace to rest in, you should at least look carefully first, so as to avoid misunderstandings." His expression darkened, and he was at a loss for words. Then she paid him no further attention and left him behind. "I still have matters to attend to, so I won't disturb Your Majesty while you wait for the imperial physician. I'll be taking my leave first." Watching Kuang Yu reject him, he irritably vented his temper on the eunuchs. "Why are you not helping me up already?" At the Imperial Academy, Xieli was openly bullying the two boys. "Xielin, why hasn't the Crown Prince come to class at this hour today? Could it be that, after hitting his head, he developed some after effects?" "Xietone, maybe a little stupid, but you're not very smart either. Birds of a feather. Don't think mocking others will satisfy you, you sickly weakling. Believe it or not, this prince can beat you to death." Xietone suddenly appeared behind him and shouted, "Stop! What are you doing?" He strode over and seized Xieli's wrist, not letting him continue his bullying. "Xietone, why are you here? You haven't been in class these past few days at all." Then Xietone stood in front of his younger brother protectively. "How dare you bully Xielin? Don't you know his health is weak? What if something happened after being struck by such a heavy book?" The boy remembered what Mother Empress had told him and happily followed it. Mother Empress was right. I'm the older brother, so I have to protect the younger ones. The children around them were drawn by his stern words, and all turned to stare. At that moment, the Grand Tutor also came over and asked, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, is your health better?" He saluted respectfully and replied, "Greetings, Grand Tutor. I'm much better now. I missed class for the past few days, so I asked Grand Tutor Li to forgive me. Since this Crown Prince arrived late today, please punish me." But the old man let it pass easily without pursuing the matter. This is not the same as before. Very well then, after class, you will copy the 36th chapter of the Book of Rites in full and hand it in. In the Crown Prince's bedchamber, a eunuch was applying medicine to Xie. Wei Zheng, if there is any movement at all, report it to me immediately. Yes. Lin Tuki accepted the order. We must find out who exactly was behind the attempt on the Empress's life. Meanwhile, in the study, Kuang Yu had not rested for even a moment. Lan Tui was so worried she stayed by her side the whole time. Your Majesty, you've been busy all day. Please rest a little. At that moment, she thought wearily, I have to teach so many princes and princesses. Already I can feel what a long burden lies ahead. And there is still the road to reclaiming Sulan. Everything has only just begun. On the long path ahead, I wonder whether I'll be able to get through it smoothly. This is the end of the episode. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a share so I'll have more motivation to make more videos. Don't forget to follow for the next episodes. Wishing you all a day full of energy.